operating budget for 2026-27. We will present the budget now, and public comments will be available to be made as soon as the budget is presented. Very quickly.
Okay, so good evening. Thank you very much for having me here again to present the budget, but this one I will promise is much shorter than most of the presentations we've had over the course of the past 6 months. Okay, so just to ground us, our budget is rooted in the board's mission statement, the 3 goals that we have that guide our operations, and ultimately with the intention to create a portrait of the graduate in our students when they exit from our care as seniors. Sorry. Okay, let's try going back here. Okay. The budget development process starts pretty much at the start of the school year. From September to November, our departments and schools submit their budgets. Beginning in November, you receive your first presentation to the Board of Ed, typically the school and department budgets, and essentially what their requests are without us having made any reductions or cuts. From December to January, I will go out and have the presentations to the town finance committees as well as to the AFC. You'll remember that in January and February we have some workshops where we combine the board and the AFC so that you can ask questions and kind of hear what each other is thinking. Ultimately, in February, you will also receive a presentation. At that point, you've already started to trim because I've had feedback from the town finance committees. Eventually by March, as a board, you make a recommendation for a budget, and then that becomes the board's adopted budget. In tonight's public hearing is a chance to receive feedback on that budget that you have approved. And then ultimately, at the end of the meeting tonight, hopefully you set a date for the referendum so that we can put our budget before our voters. And now it's going backwards. Let's try this. Okay, so a very quick budget overview. You saw this pie chart earlier in the budget process. Just a reminder that the majority of our board's budget is tied to our staff in either salaries or benefits, with special education taking up another significant chunk. The idea of debt service, of course, is only seen on a regional budget because we carry the debt service in a typical town-based budget. You wouldn't necessarily see this for a Board of Education. Our purchase services can be all the things that we have to pay for that don't come as part of our staffing. So we're going to talk tonight about snow plowing, we're going to talk tonight about electricity. These are all the things that get tied into our purchase services. And then our tax, utilities, and supplies just to help us run the buildings. What this budget supports first are contractual obligations to essentially maintain our programs that we have in academics, athletics, and the arts. The budget is supporting the development of career pathways and continuing the expansion of dual enrollment at the high school. Last month you saw how much that's actually benefiting our students. It includes the staffing so that we can make some adjustments to the middle school schedule that will allow for more student choice, and it includes additional opportunities for students to kind of take different paths to get to advanced mathematics courses once they're high school students. The budget supports student activities like the Trident, you heard from them last week. We also includes coaches for 2 growing athletic programs. You'll remember we added the assistant coach for girls wrestling, and then also a second assistant coach for tennis, so that now we have assistants that can support both the boys team and the girls team. It includes technology needs, including our one-to-one devices, our Promethean boards and digital displays, specialty labs, as well as technology infrastructure. We'll hear a little bit about that this evening as well. The budget supports our curriculum and instruction, including our curriculum writing, which you will also hear about today, and the revision as well as the implementation of that curriculum through high-quality instruction. A significant piece of the budget is for our pupil services and student mental health. especially to address the increasing enrollment we have in some of our specialized special education programs. And the budget includes short and long-term facilities improvements. The budget is guided by enrollment in our 3 towns. And so you can see that the enrollment has changed from last year into this year, and that's gonna just drive the percent increases that impact the towns themselves. The town allocations at the 1.2% budget, which is the proposal that, that the board has approved. You can see that Bethany will go up by approximately $263,000. Orange will see a decrease of about $170,000, and Woodbridge will have an increase of about $330,000. Overall, we also have an increase in revenue. So overall, the 1.2% budget represents a $700,213 increase from the current year budget. From a state perspective, and I actually throw this up here not just for you to think about Amity, but also because I think your elementary districts have done a really remarkable job too when you see their numbers. You can see that the averages from superintendent proposed budgets are 5.23. DIRG-B is slightly higher at 5.30. I did look at the average for regional school districts because they all would also carry debt, so they could have those swings that either drive their budgets up or down. Regional school district proposals are 3.88%, and then the average adopted budget from Board of Ed, so that's really your 1.2, is just slightly under 5%. When you look at the 138 districts who reported their data to CASBO, we are last. We have the lowest budget increase in the state at this point, and we have pretty much throughout this entire process. From just a perspective, kind of long range, when we first came to you in November, the budget request was 2.97%. When I presented to AFC in January, we had dropped it down to a 2.21% increase after some feedback, and there was a couple of fluctuations, but it eventually went back and forth between 1.54 and 1.53, but by the time the end of February rolled around, it was a 1.53% increase. AFC recommended not going any higher than that, but it did give flexibility for us to continue to look for places to reduce the budget. So when I came back in at the beginning of March, I proposed a 1.35% increase. Ultimately, you approved what I believe was a compromise to meet in the middle at 1.2% increase, which is where we sit today. Like I said, you can see that the elementary districts, when you compare those to the state averages, are doing fairly well, but this just gives you a point of comparison. You must be early this year because usually I can find the town operating budgets posted, but Terry and I scoured the websites today and we cannot find what the town operating budgets are for Orange or Woodbridge. Bethany's was posted at a 1.64%. So that's just kind of where we sort of sit, and of course, when people go out to vote for their towns, what they're gonna get is a combination of the town operating budget, their portion of the Amity budget, and then what the elementary district budget is, and that kind of gets woven together into the approval that they give at the town level. So hopefully, like I said, we will have an annual district meeting on Monday, May 4th, 2026. That meeting should hopefully open up the referendum, which would occur on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026, from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the typical voting places. And that was it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Just as a comment or statement, this public hearing is being held in compliance with state statutes and district policy. And now, if there's anybody that has public comment on the budget as it was presented, you're welcome to approach the podium. And if there's anybody that would like to do that, you don't want to talk about it?
Not I.
Anyone on the budget now? If not, we will move on to the next step. We have not received any public comment on the budget. We need a motion to set the district meeting for 5:30 p.m. Monday, May 4th, 2026, with adjournment to a referendum in all 3 member towns on Tuesday, May 5th, 2026. Somebody want to make that motion? Susan, thank you. Second, Patrick.
Call the roll.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Cloud Ingram.
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet.
Yes.
Dr. Krunakron.
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi.
Christine.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. McDonough.
Yes.
Dr. Ola Delay.
Yes.
Ms. Rebuse.
Yes.
Ms. Schlank.
Yes.
Ms. Schuster.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Okay, that motion is carried. And if there's any further business for the public meeting? If not, can we have a motion to close the public meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Next, we'd like to welcome everyone to the regular meeting for the month of April 6th. Call to order at 6:42. Emergency exits are located in the back of the room, both sides. Please silence your cell phones. Remind members, staff, guests to respect the business nature of our meeting. Comments may be made only when recognized, and applause is appropriate. Applause is only appropriate in recognition of an individual or group honor. Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we move on to the number 3, I've had a request to have 2 additions to the agenda. One addition would be on finance, number 9B3, and this is addition is infrastructure, hardware, and servers. That's once again 9B3, infrastructure, hardware, and servers. Second edition is a discussion of monthly statements, which was inadvertently omitted. This would be under finance. Currently, C is Director of Finance and Administration approval of transfers. That would move down. All the ones below C would move down, and C would be discussion of monthly statements. Does everyone understand? All right, can we have that motion, please? Megan? Second, Michael. Any concerns, questions? If not, I don't think we have to call a roll. Can we raise our hands?
You can raise your
Raise your hands.
Okay.
Okay.
It's unanimous.
Yeah, it's unanimous. Okay, we move on to number 3, approval of minutes. I just noticed a correction that must be made. These are the minutes of March 23rd, 2026, special meeting, not regular meeting. It's listed as regular meeting on the agenda.
On the agenda.
The minutes themselves say special.
But the minutes say
The
special
minutes.
meeting.
Themselves say special meeting, but
So the agenda says regular?
No, no, on the agenda.
yeah.
You look under number 3,
On the agenda, you mean.
yeah, it says Board of Education,
Oh,
regular
yeah,
meeting.
got it.
Those are the minutes. We're talking about the minutes. The minutes are of the special meeting.
I'll make the change.
This agenda. okay.
Yeah. All right, can we have a motion to approve those minutes then? Michael? And Suter, second. Any questions, concerns, changes? If not, can we call a roll?
Ms. Cloud Ingram.
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet.
Yes.
Dr. Krunakron.
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Yes.
Ms. Review's?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
And Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion carries. We move up to number 4, public comment. Once again, at this time, we would invite members of the public up to the lectern for public comment. Please state your full name and address. If you are a student or under 18 years of age, please state only your first name. Each speaker will be allowed up to 3 minutes for public comment, with a maximum of 20 minutes per meeting allocated for any one item. Speakers are reminded that presentations are to be made in a respectful manner. Personal issues related to students or staff are not permitted. Derogatory language which maligns the character of staff members, board members, and other members of the public is unacceptable and not in keeping with board policy and core values. Please note that as a matter of board policy, the board does not respond to public comments or questions immediately, but may discuss the subject and respond if appropriate at a future time. And we have our first public comment.
Thank you. Eitan Herman, Woodbridge. So I want to talk to you guys today about, I've been looking, like obviously I keep up with AP because I'm taking APs myself, and I want us to have a school that's very diverse in APs. And if the board is not aware, they've created a new AP, which is AP Business with Personal Finance. And I know we just created in our school a personal finance and a financial lit requirement. But I think at the same time that leads to, I think, 2 things that we're saying. We want people to have a good financial understanding, and I think to really do that, the course I took it myself last semester. It was good, but I didn't get fully into everything that I think it could get into. And I know there's students like myself, I know the members of the board who work in finance, and they know there's so much to cover. And I think with that AP course, if you guys fight for and possibly get it into the school, there's a lot of ground that we could cover from this, and I think that would be something that'd be cool to introduce. I know we have courses like entrepreneurship, I know we have courses like marketing, but even though at the same time we have those courses, they're not on like that standard curriculum that we're seeing from College Board. They're not on that standard. They're a little bit different. I think it would be cool to be able to see an AP course in such a specialty field. I know we do have AP Arts, we have AP Sciences, and we have AP Englishes already. So if we're already able to have these, I think it would be a really good addition to our school to have this AP Business as well. Because with this, we'd also be able to let students really be able to explore another field with CTE, because I know we try to push, I know in my graduation requirements, I take an art elective, I have to take a CTE, I have to take a science, I have to take, there's a bunch of things you just have to take. And I think with creating this AP, you really get a whole nother lane of students who will want to take this. I know there's a whole club at our school right now that we just enrolled this year, DECA, which is related to business. I'm in it myself, and I think there's a bunch of those students who'd be interested in it. Those students who don't have the time commitment but would also be interested in learning about this. And I think there's just so many things that in the real world are important from this class that I think that this board should try to advocate and try to make a new class for the 27-28 year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys. Good evening, Liam Roselle from Bethany. I'm going to talk about the surplus. Every year we have about $2.5 million in unspent funds. It's about 6% of the budget, which, I mean, the special education grant is budgeted at a 60% reimbursement. I could be wrong. I skimmed this last night. The actual rate for that was about 84%. And then we over budget in all of these categories that I went through. I could list them all, but I'm not going to because that'll take a lot of time and only 3 minutes. Of that surplus, about 59% is returned to the town. The other 41% is routed back into the school. So we have this $4.2 million in reserves. Why can't we have paper towels in the bathrooms, right? I hate the hand dryers. The Mayo Clinic has put out study after study after study saying that they're unsanitary. They push germs back onto your already washed hands. This comes back up to the board, I'm pretty sure, about every single year. We can have paper towels for things like the musical, things like sporting events. We can't have them for the couple thousand students that walk through the halls every day. I mean, we're a school. 2,000 students sharing bathrooms during a 4-minute passing period, and we have a flu season every single year. There was a norovirus outbreak 2 years ago, and if we have all this money, bottom line, I'm going to stop repeating myself, we have all this money, we have no paper towels. There's a campaign every year to bring the paper towels back. I know it gets shot down every year. Let's make this year the year that the Board of Education does something about the paper towels. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? Okay, if not, we move on to correspondence. Do we have any
There
correspondence?
was just one about the AI policy. I know I forwarded it to you. And that was it.
Okay. Continue on. Chair has a couple of comments. We have a meeting, as you all know, scheduled for April 27th. We will have the board attorney present. If any of you have any questions for the board attorney prior to that meeting, it might be helpful if you forward them to the chair and a copy to the superintendent. We can get that to the board attorney so they can be better prepared. Secondly, board practices on member budget comments. Board members generally, and this has been our practice, may answer questions about the budget, the proposed budget, but not relate positive or negative comments about the budget or campaign for passage or defeat of the budget. This is our normal practice, and considering that we had no negative votes on the budget, many people probably will be supportive of it, but it's not our job to support the budget. It's our job to inform the public so they can make a decision based on the information we're giving out. Also, response to questions. Board members invariably get questions about stuff going on in the school. And particularly comments maybe related to teachers, maybe related to curriculum, special events, extracurricular activities. More than we should probably, those comments may very often be negative and a concern. Because if somebody's happy, they don't usually ask that question. Problem is that board members may not normally be informed as to the specific problem that they're being questioned. It's normal procedure for us not to answer those questions, but to direct our local members, our local citizens, to the specific people in the school district that are responsible for those particular problems. So it may be a teacher. The first thing, if it involves a classroom teacher, somebody says to you, the classroom teacher did this and my son or daughter had a problem. I said, well, the first person, of course, you contact is a classroom teacher. You don't suddenly call the principal and say, this is what's going on in the school. So those are some of the things, and there's a flow chart, I think, that's available for parents to look at, and particularly parents, but anyone else that can direct them as to who to talk to about specific problems. And we should consider reiterating that again, putting that out there. So those are just some comments that we should consider as board members. It's very often hard to do that, but particularly if your friends are asking you questions. But that's normal procedure. With that, we go on to committee reports. ACES.
So just one update from ACES. Dr. Tom Dehaney is retiring, and so there's a new executive director who will start July 1st, Dr. William Rice. He's an internal candidate. So yeah, there's a change in leadership.
Very good, thank you. All right. Ad hoc school start time.
Our next meeting is scheduled for tomorrow, Zoom at 4 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, please make sure you take note of that. Kate?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Communications.
We have a meeting scheduled tomorrow, and we are in the process of making connections with our PTSO groups. So that will continue for the next month or so.
All right. Before we go further about communications, two things are going on. As most of you know, we had discussions about responsibilities and roles. Superintendent, Board of Education appointed a working group to meet with Dr. Byers. This group is made up of 3 board members, Michael, Donna, and who else? Sudhir. Yeah, okay. And they will sit with Dr. Byers until they have something to provide for the board and within a reasonable time limit. I think our goal is to make sure that we have better clarity on roles and responsibilities prior to the start of the next school year. So that's one of the things. And
I have a quick question, Paul. Was this something that you chose yourself and we weren't allowed to volunteer for? Or how did that all, how did these members get chosen?
Okay, I selected the members myself based on several things. Number one, I wanted 1 member from each town, and that was one area. Secondly, I wanted members who have a working relationship with the superintendent on a number of different items and opinions, and all 3 of these people are chairs of committees. Thirdly, I felt that the individuals involved are well aware and have been on the board for several years already now and have a nice awareness of what's going on in the school district. So those are my reasons, and I hope they're approved.
What is this committee doing?
It's going to review with Dr. Byers roles and responsibilities, and then present what they have to the board as a discussion to a starting point from where we were talking, rather than just going out there and saying, okay, this is what we should do, this is what you. Dr. Byers will gather some information, the board members will gather some information, and then we'll put something together and present it to the board so that the board will have a starting point to really be able to get together on roles and responsibilities. And I think some of the things that they will do first after that, probably consult with the port attorney to make sure we're in line with state statute and come from there.
But shouldn't these already be defined?
They are.
They are.
But poorly defined, and that is part, so the governance statement that Carol had shared that's been out is essentially the guiding document. And it's vague, it's still deliberately vague. Attorney Dugas can address that when he comes and speaks on April 27th. And so at one point, it appears that the State Department of Education back in 2017 was actually charged with making more clarity around the roles and responsibilities, but they did not. We've contacted the State Department of Ed, I've contacted my leadership at CAPS, Attorney Dugas contacted the attorneys up in the State Department of Ed, and that document doesn't exist. So somebody dropped the ball someplace. So what I'm gonna try to do is kind of with research, there are other states where it is probably a little more defined, so we need to sort of research that, see if we can't come up with some more clear expectations that still align with that governance statement. And then I wanna make sure that it's understandable to board members, but also that it's within the legal statutes, which is where Floyd's role comes back in. But I mean, the bottom line is, yes, they should be defined. It is, but when you go and read it, you're gonna see it's still.
Is the governance statement that Carol brought to us in our minutes, or is it, where is that?
I sent it in the weekly, one of the Friday updates. I think it was 2 Fridays ago.
Yeah.
And it's in our original.
Yes, Carol.
Board member packet, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, this is great, but I think we should also realize that the guidance is the way it is for a reason, right? I mean, so, I don't know, I guess that the committee has to find that like fine balance, right? So I'm sure that those who participated in that process to come up with those guidelines, they don't want it to be prescriptive, right? This is supposed to be like a working relationship, so it's not gonna spell out like everything else, because then you'll have a little bit of, you'll have variation in sort of how boards and superintendents, the dynamic from district to district. So just for the committee to keep in mind that at the end of the day, I don't think what we want is like, here's a like very, very
I
strict.
don't even think that's
defined-
possible, because the list would just be so long, but yeah, but I think trying to think of examples and things that make it a little more concrete than what it currently is sort of the way I'm approaching it. And again, there's, from the state of Connecticut, there's very little resource out there. But I think that there's probably some available in some other states where they spell it out a little more explicitly, I would say.
CABE does actually have a statement suggesting that boards of education go through this process so that they can develop a better understanding between the duties of the superintendent and the duties of the board, and a better working relationship, which is what all of us have spoken about. So that's the process that developed. Yes, Carol?
Mr. Chairman, so once the committee does that and they present, is this also something that we will include on an agenda for a board
Oh,
retreat?
absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. This is basically for the beginning of the discussion, so
Great.
that we have a place we can
start.
look at this and say, hey, that looks great, we don't have to do anything, or I have a concern about this, I have a concern about that, and maybe we could move this a little bit in the direction. So it's something concrete. Megan and then Donna.
So the last meeting, I can't remember if it was last meeting or the one before that, we voted to have a board retreat, which I thought the purpose of that was to collectively as a board have this discussion. So I'm a little confused as to why a working group of a small number of people was created when that seems to defy the vote the board made.
The retreat was a specific agenda of the retreat, I did not believe was specifically focused on one issue. So what the vote taken was so that the board members can get a better understanding of each other, and that was even somebody's comment in writing to do that. And speaking of the retreat, I had asked Carol, who expressed some concerns and issues, things that she would like to do, to come together maybe with a few other board members to determine what should be the mechanism that we use in the agenda for the retreat, and working with Dr. Byers so that we have a way of doing that. Donna?
Well, what was the impetus of this? Why are you putting together this committee?
Very honestly, I'll be as blunt as I can. I think it's the job of the chair to help move business along, organize discussions so that they have a place to go. I don't like discussions that just are discussions and no one really has any particular outcome that can be used. I'd like us to have something to work from. So I figured between the three people that I appointed and Dr. Byers, we'd have a place to start where we really can have a foundation for a good discussion.
Well, my question is the roles and responsibilities, excuse me, I think it's my allergies. Is this because of the meeting that we had two meetings ago where it got very intense and heated around the middle school schedule and the state statutes that were, I spoke with CABE, it's a structural change. Is this what was inspiring this?
That's a good part of it, sure.
Okay, so if I am the one who has questions about it, why am I not on this committee?
Just because you were the one that asked questions.
Well, that's sort of undermining it, I think.
Well, my point is that I wanted people who really not, Donna wasn't even here for that, so she has no idea of what's going on. I wanted people that I saw as being somewhat, neutral on the issues.
So how are we going to address that then?
Just the way it's going to be done. Okay?
Can't wait, that should be exciting.
Yeah.
While we're on the topic, I didn't get responses from everybody to the doodle poll. I kept it open as long as I could. But as of right now, just for your planning purposes, Saturday, June 6th was the date that met the most board members' ability to attend. There was not a single date that worked for everybody. So if
This is for the retreat?
that would be for the retreat. Yes. So that's kind of where that landed.
So this is a retreat that we're having here on a Saturday morning.
Well, we don't know where, right? We
Well,
haven't-
so
Usually
Still.
we've always had them here.
Yeah, so I spoke to Paul about restructuring the retreat and having it elsewhere, which I'm happy to connect with you to
Yeah.
find that out. Would it be possible, if June wasn't possible, would August be possible? So we have, our last board meeting is June, and then we have July off, and then we come back in August? And we have an actual meeting, is it?
It's
In
usually
August.
the third meeting, the third Monday in August, it gets pushed, but I can throw out another doodle poll with dates for August if the board is willing to wait until then.
People will be traveling in August, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
at least June 6th was still like within the school year, so hopefully
Okay.
you guys are still here, because
right.
we're still here, but
We can-
The last one, I think, was after the start of school again.
I mean, I'm going to suspect, having gone through this with other boards in the past, either as an assistant superintendent or a superintendent, one retreat isn't going to be enough to accomplish what you want to do. So I think a June one to get started, and then you can have a conversation about when you have sort of a follow-up, but it's usually not quite enough time. It's just sort of been my experience, so.
Okay. We move on to curriculum. And curriculum committee.
We just met today, got a lot of stuff going on, but I'm going to refer this over to Dr. Carlson, because she has more precise details.
Good evening, everyone. We're very excited to bring to you tonight. We had brought to the curriculum committee last month, 7th grade social studies and Latin 2. Dr. Byers had sent you the links in advance, just so you had time to review. The curriculum committee did approve and recommend to the full board unanimously both of these courses. And so I'd like to invite up tonight 2 of the 4 social studies writers, Mrs. Sharkey and Mrs. Null. And they're going to give you a little overview.
Good evening, everyone. So Sarah and I are the 2 of the 4 social studies teachers. I teach in Amity Bethany, and Sarah teaches in Amity Orange. A couple of years ago, our state standards were revised and approved at the state level, which required us to do a pretty large curriculum revision, which we did in correlation with some vertical articulation with our 6th grade counterparts, because the standards are sort of banded between 6th grade and 7th grade. So we essentially divided up based on hemisphere, and we teach world regions. So we start with an introduction to social studies with the basic overview, and then we go in each region, the Middle East and North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Latin America. We first talk about the geography of that region, and then we do a brief kind of survey overview of the history, and then into modern cultures and current events. Just right around this point of the school year, we kind of globalize a little bit more, and we first do a large global issues interdisciplinary project, and then we end the year with globalization and the idea that although we've studied regionally, really everyone is interdependent on each other. Social studies is a largely skill-based class where you're going to see skills that are similar to what you may see in an English classroom or in a science classroom. A lot of using evidence, citing evidence from text, supporting claims using evidence, as well as being able to defend your ideas in both debate and written format. And these are some of the big ideas that we pulled out of our curriculum. It's an exciting course, it's a big course, lots of different topics, but the kids do enjoy it.
I have a question. Yeah. Does Latin America, in your mind, also include the Caribbean?
We do when we talk geography. I don't know that we do too much in ways of the specific islands and the history of the islands. But we do study it geographically, and then in current events it may come up. But as far as the history, it's more the early Americas, so Aztec, Inca, Maya.
And is that determined by from the state?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Questions?
And we did share with the curriculum committee as well, a lot of the work that our social studies teachers are doing with our Bethany, Orange, and Woodbridge feeder schools is ongoing. We had a vertical articulation meeting last week, and they spent a lot of time with our 5th and 6th grade teachers just talking about scope and sequence and crosswalking the curriculum, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then hopefully high school. And so we're really trying to collaborate and build strong partnerships with our feeder schools as well. So they're doing really great work.
And another conversation that came up at the subcommittee, curriculum subcommittee, was the importance of performance tasks. So each one of the units is grounded in a performance task, which is a kind of large project, authentic project to the students, real world skills that kind of combines a lot of different skills, a lot of content, and encourages them to synthesize the information in a creative way at the end of each unit.
So I have a 7th and 8th grader. My 8th grader last year, they did, I think y'all called it the Global Affairs Fair.
Yeah.
Is that going to continue as part of, because I thought that was very well done.
Yeah, I think it's May 1st, right?
Orange is May 7th.
May 7th, okay, so May 1st in Bethany and May 7th in Orange, yes, we'll be doing that again this year.
So for those who haven't seen it, it's kind of like a science fair, but on social studies topics.
Yes.
And how does this connect to the high school in terms of the articulation?
So you can kind of connect grade 5, 8, and 10 is US history, grade 6, 7, and 9 is world regional studies. So that's sort of the articulation through
So
Anna.
they come on the 9th here.
Correct.
And where does the depth come in high school, like, relative to this?
So we do what's kind of referred to as like spiral. So each unit, while we cover the same categories of geography, history, and cultures and current events, we get a little bit more in-depth, particularly with the skills, and then the high school, of course, would build upon those.
And the Global Issues Project from 7th grade into 9th grade, they take it and expand it and include a United Nations piece. So it's definitely building as they go.
Any more? Very good.
Sorry,
No?
just one more. How do you, I know, Sudhir, you just asked, like, how does this connect to the high school, but how does this shift that came from the state sort of, I guess, better support a good flow for the kids moving across, moving through middle school to high school? Do you think it's stronger?
Yeah, I think it's a particularly stronger curriculum. A lot of what was pulled away from us is the ancient civilizations. So we used to study ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Greece, ancient Rome. And now we do touch on ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia just as part of the Middle East unit, but not as in-depth as we previously done. But that's at the benefit of getting more current events, more critical thinking, media literacy skills.
And Latin America.
And Latin America, which we never, Latin America and Sub-Saharan Africa are two regions that are very rarely touched on K through 12, other than in an elective class, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's one more question.
I'm sorry.
Not a question, but just having looked at the curriculums, I think one of the sections in each ones that I would recommend you guys all look at if you're looking at the curriculum is misconceptions the students might have, and I've found that really fascinating because the teachers are already kind of making the superstition of like what the kids might kind of have a misconception about, or what they might, come away from this unit kind of thinking incorrectly. And I think thinking about that before you start and then having that as part of the curriculum is a really cool piece of it that I've been enjoying looking at, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Are you asking for approval?
We're going to present on one more course, if that's
Okay.
Latin 2.
Oh, yes, I know that. We'll do approval of both of them at one
That's
vote?
okay with you guys.
Anybody have objection? That's fine.
That's how the curriculum. Okay. So I'd like to introduce Laura Hamilton and our World Language Department Chair, Chapin. Thank you for being here. I just want to give a quick little overview. So anytime you want an in-depth presentation from these teachers, and the curriculum committee can tell you their passion is incredible when they come to the meetings, please join us for the small group meetings, because they spend a lot of time going in depth through the units and the performance tasks. And when we come here today, it's kind of a snapshot. It's a smaller, brief overview. So anytime you want a more in-depth overview, or you receive the curriculum and you have questions, at any time, please email us and we'd be happy to talk to you. But we're just going to give a brief overview of your units.
So Latin 2, the focus continues from Latin 1 in being on language acquisition, in preparation for Latin 3, where the focus then shifts to reading authentic literature with scaffolding. And we accomplish this by sort of have this storyline where we're following ancient Roman people. So we're acquiring also the content of ancient Roman culture and history while exploring language. So the units, I have a unit in Pompeii, and we'll discuss obviously the archaeology and also the funerary traditions and the passive voice. Then Imperium, we're looking at kind of the consolidation of imperial power. The storyline takes place during the reign of Emperor Nero, which is always very interesting. Usually if you've heard of one of the emperors, Nero probably might be one of them, because a lot of very interesting stories about him. So it's the focus kind of on the imperial center and the government, which has a lot of ties actually to American government. The founding fathers were very influenced by that structure. Achaia, then it's ancient Greece. There's a huge crossover influence between ancient Rome and ancient Greece. The Romans were very influenced by the Greek culture and Greek literature, so we kind of do cover the Roman and Greek stuff. Those kids who take Latin will get a pretty in-depth view on this. Then doctis orbis terrarum, it means essentially like learned of the world. So it's kind of expanding throughout the entire Roman world, which is pretty much all of Western Europe, North Africa. Various times they get a bit far into the Middle East, and of course what's now Turkey. This is all within the Roman world, the shores of the Black Sea. So we kind of like take a broader view of Roman influence. And then Bellum et Historia, that's the end of the unit. It's the end of the kind of the Latin 2 book. So that is the end of Nero's reign. And we talk a bit about kind of like legacy and how we know what we know, and kind of talking about sources. And all throughout they're acquiring the subjunctive voice. They're acquiring different declensions for the nouns, because my students are always so shocked to learn not only verbs change in Latin, also the nouns change, depending on how you're using them. So they have to, it's a lot of information for them to kind of acquire, so we try and do that through these engaging readings.
Okay. Questions? Nope.
I just want to say one thing. Laura is really one of the best Latin teachers I want to see in the whole state. So we are very lucky to have her. So thank you again for it.
So I just want to thank the teacher team that's here with us tonight, and also the 7th grade writers, in addition to Mrs. Sharkey and Mrs. Mel, was Nick DePonte and Milton Sharn. All 4 7th grade social studies teachers wrote the curriculum collaboratively. So there's a lot of consensus building, as you can imagine, with that process. So thank you for being here, and thank you very much, Laura. We really appreciate it, and Chapin. And of course, everyone knows Mrs. Drury, who's leading a lot of this work behind the scenes. So thank you so much for being, taking time from your families to be here tonight.
I just have a comment. I just wanted to say that, being on the curriculum committee and working with all you folks, I think we all should be very proud of the hard work that this district is putting into developing curriculum and the thoroughness of it, and with our students in mind. And, the alignment with the standards, the attention to the delivery, and the dedication and the team and their commitment and passion behind it is really evident. So you don't see that in a lot of places. And you might, reflect that in places that you work or have worked, but we really are very fortunate. That's what I like to say. And thank you for your hard work.
Sorry.
So we just,
Okay,
we just need a motion to approve the curriculum.
did we get one?
We have not.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Yes. Motion to approve both the 7th grade social studies and Latin 1 curriculum, Latin 2 curriculum, I'm sorry. Second?
I'm happy to second.
Second, okay.
Is it Ms. Jacquet or Dr. Kurtikran?
Oh, okay.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, you went.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I second.
Ms. Cloud, can I do the roll?
Yeah.
Ms. Cloudingham?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kurtikran?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Uladele?
Yes.
Ms. Rabuse?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. All right.
All right, and before we move on to the middle school schedule, we just wanted to give you kind of a sneak peek into more curriculum that's going to be coming your way this fall. As you can see, our teachers are very busy writing. So June and July, there'll be a lot of curriculum writing being done. And so stay tuned. We're really excited about this work.
And actually, coming out of tonight's meeting, you will get tomorrow the Spanish, UConn, ECE curriculum, and the 8th grade social studies. So, but you won't have to review that until the first meeting in May, so you have 4 weeks to look at that curriculum instead of just 2.
So Shannon, will there be an update on the 8th grade Algebra 1
Yes.
as well? Oh, I didn't see that on the list. I must have missed it.
There's so much going on. I'm sure there's one course not on there, but yes, absolutely, Donna, thank you. So we wanted to provide you with the middle school schedule information. And what we wanted to do was provide you with a snapshot of what a 7th grade student schedule would look like, 2 different samples, and then 2 different samples of an 8th grade student schedule.
So what we tried to do, because again, we were getting questions, sort of misperceptions about like team and things like that. So if you look, anything that's shaded in blue, those are still the courses that are going to be on the team model. So you can sort of see that again, we still have teaming for ELA, math, social studies, and science, as well as WIN. So that way the students are able to still work with their content area teachers in those 4 team content areas. The health and PE, if you look at how it's structured, it's the nice sort of orange band. One of the things that we realized as we started to switch to this schedule, and that was sort of favored by the PE teachers particularly, is right now we have dedicated PE teachers and dedicated health teachers. And they preferred to remain that way as opposed to teaching both. And so what we're able to do on the 8-period day is keep the PE teachers with PE, have the health teachers teach health and fitness on the non-PE days. The nice piece to this is currently, right now, our health curriculum at the middle school has not been updated recently, and we're actually seeing 2 different experiences between the 2 middle schools in how they approach the health and the fitness. One school tends to go more heavily towards the classroom health instruction and not to the fitness arena. And the other school does a little bit more with the fitness, but at the expense of some of the days in health class. So this model is actually going to allow us to align that curriculum, and I know some of that work's already started. So that way, again, sort of that goal of making sure our kids have the same experience in the two middle schools. But nobody has to really give up anything because we have some of this extra time. So the same amount of health can happen in the school that's health dominant, and the same amount of fitness can happen in the school that's fitness dominant, and then they can both have that same experience. In this case, the 7th grade student has selected band. So you can see band during period 6, it's on A days and C days. That would extend for the entire school year because it would be a year-long course. And then their electives, in this case, first semester, they would have their CTE class. And in second semester, this child hypothetically selected art. So this particular student wouldn't have exposure to digital media as a 7th grader per se, because of how they selected their courses. But again, that's where that student choice piece is coming in. So same concept, same color coding thing. The blue is representing the classes that are on the team. You see the PE and the health and the fitness all in the same block. In this case, the student didn't want to take an ensemble at all. And so the way their schedule would look as a 7th grader would be during the first semester, they would have general music and art classes. During second semester, they would switch to CTE and digital media. And then they don't get forced into taking one of those ensemble courses in this circumstance. Moving on to an 8th grade student, again, hypothetical 8th grade student. This is a music favorable kid, somebody who loves music, and so in this case, they were able to take band and chorus for the entire year, and they will just have those on alternating AC, BD days. Again, blue is showing where all of their team classes are, and then finally, the last student. This is a child who doesn't want to have music, but also because of perhaps some learning challenges, also isn't participating in a world language as a middle school student. So what you see is opportunities where they could have special education or intervention services. Again, that's going to depend on the individual child, but it would be part of their schedule and part of their day. They are able to put opposite those courses some of those electives. So again, there's enough electives at this point that they don't have to audit a world language class. They don't have to go into a general music ensemble, but they could have architecture and theater for first semester, and then they could have digital media and art second semester. In terms of what the teachers would look like, this would be what I would call one of those team teacher schedules. So you can see that they would have a common prep time period. That's sort of for their own use. They would have the time where they would meet with the other members of their team. So all members of that team would have a free period at that time. The kids would be out in their world language, their electives, or potentially their health and PE classes. The win is their duty period. That's why it's color-coded in green, and you can see they would pretty consistently have 5 classes a day of the exact same class every single day. We chose to put the CTE teacher as what it would look like for what we'll call an elective class. They're the first ones getting actual electives in 8th grade, so they would have the most variability. But you can see that on an A day, they'd essentially have their 7th grade students. On A and C day, on B day, they would have their 8th grade students, and the 8th grade students are split into the 2 elective choices that they would have, in this case, architecture and robotics. They don't necessarily have WIN as their duties, so they get a different duty period. It's usually lunch, unless we need them to do something else. And then they also would have prep time and their team time would be with other life arts teachers who are teaching on a schedule like this. So we thought it was probably easiest. Again, these aren't locked in examples. We're still running the schedule, so don't go home and think that somehow, that the 7th graders are always going to have PE during period 2. But this is the best way we could kind of give a visual of what the schedule would look like. Obviously, as we put in numbers and elective choices, it will start to look different for every single kid. But I think that's kind of the idea behind it, is that student schedules, which are fairly similar right now, will have a little more variability, obviously, because of the choice that the students have.
For seventh grade students who don't want to participate in general music or band, their options are like language and?
So for seventh graders, if they don't want an ensemble, they really only have the same 4 life arts choices that we currently have.
Okay.
General music, art, digital media, and tech ed.
Okay, thank you.
Megan?
So maybe because I have 2 middle schoolers, I've been getting lots of questions just from both teachers and my own kids and their friends and their parents. So I guess I'll group these as concerns/questions. One is, so I have a 7th grader going into 8th grade. We were presented, and it's even written in the program of studies, that these were all per board approval. So I know we're still discussing roles and responsibilities, but you're presenting things to parents as requiring board approval, and yet we have not been asked for formal approval of any of this thus far. So just putting that out there as a.
So whenever we have a program that is connected to the budget, because of when we put the program of studies out in December or January, we always sort of asterisk it that it's going to be per board approval, meaning the budget approval. So if you look at the high school program of studies, the CNA course is asterisked like that. French was asterisked like that because we weren't sure of the world language teacher. So if there's anything where we see that there may be a connection to the budget, we'll sort of tag that, because we don't want there to be an expectation that it necessarily is going to happen and have people kind of hang their hopes on something that may or may not get reduced in the budget process.
So maybe as a new board member, that's a lesson learned for me, but going forward, I would have not voted on the budget without, like, knowing that we weren't going to be approving this, because I do think there's still a lot of things in flux. Another piece of it is, as a 7th grade parent, like, we have not made any elective choices in Power School. So I'm curious as to how you guys are scheduling kids without parents having and students having actually made those choices.
I think those were, Mr. Davis already got all of that information. I mean, we can ask him for those. We can get back to you on that, but most of choice and preferences were done for the students.
You sent a survey asking for preferences.
And that's how we based our preliminary numbers, was by preferences.
But when you told us that, you said you'd only gotten like 30 to 40% of students responding.
No, I think we've gotten
You've
almost
gotten
all
them all.
students.
Okay.
Yes.
And I also think, and I could be wrong, and I may be speaking out of turn here, but I believe that the process will also be that the counselors will sit down with the kids to review their choices. And then I think just like at the high school, there's like a place where you sign off or check on those choices, that will be built in as part of Power School too.
Okay.
They just haven't gotten to that piece
Okay.
yet. But it'll be somewhat similar to the way that the high school runs its selection, just not quite to the level of
Okay.
depth or expansive opportunities.
And then I guess a couple other questions. I'm hearing that the schedule is not going to rotate, which I feel like y'all have always stressed as being something that's important. So now we're not doing that anymore?
No, that's not true. We've discussed, and again, this is really, I'm at the principal's level, but we discussed not rotating for the first quarter next year, just to get the new schedule started, and then to start the rotation. The rotation, because of the way it's set up, period 5 is always going to be period 5, because that's what lunch is built around, so that's not gonna move. So there has to be some kind of morning rotation if they do it, and an afternoon rotation if they choose to do that. And my understanding, again, where I think we last left it off, is that some kind of rotation will be built in there. If you know, in getting feedback from teachers, they just wanna start with rotation on day one with the new schedule, then I don't have any skin in this game, they can go ahead and do that. That's really a building-based decision, but part of our sort of thought behind, you know, it's a new schedule, it's a different way of doing things, why don't we not rotate? It just takes one more variable out of it until you've been there for a quarter or half of a quarter, and then when everybody feels ready, you can start throwing the rotation piece in. But there will be rotation in the schedule.
And then my last question, or I guess two. One, are all of these electives being offered next year for 8th graders?
I think it's gonna depend on requests, but more than likely, yes, because just you need a certain number of spaces to sort of fill up the teacher schedules and to meet the kids' needs. So I don't necessarily, but like, whether we have 2 sections of architecture and 3 of robotics, that hasn't been worked out yet. We're still looking at numbers for that piece.
Like theaters happening, all of those are happening next year?
To my knowledge, yes. And again, I don't have the actual numbers of how many kids signed up for those, but I would assume that there's enough to run at least one section of everything that we looked at.
Okay. And then to the comment about PE and then fitness and health, so are you hiring 2 new health teachers?
So everybody in the state of Connecticut, or we have a requirement that they're dual certified.
Okay.
So it's an 043 and an 044, and everybody that we have on staff is dual certified so that they can be flexible between those 2 courses.
But you made the comment that those who teach PE want to teach PE and not teach both. So right now, we have 2 PE teachers at each school and 1 health teacher.
So in theory, it would be a second health teacher, but half of their time is going to be in that fitness zone, so that is going to be your other activity piece. And yes, so.
Can I?
Donna, and then.
I think Dana was.
Dana?
Sudhir was before me, sorry.
No, that's fine. Yeah, so the one comment I had related to this was, obviously, this is become more of an issue that we as a board are involved in, partly because there were budgetary implications for this, right?
Yes.
And so at one level, I'm thinking, like, you know, if this is something that is good for the kids, we might want to proceed with some level of uncertainty because we want the kids to have access to something that is good early on. Just because there is a budget uncertainty, we shouldn't be delaying this. And in some sense, this was rushed as a process, perhaps a little bit, because, you know, normally you would have had time to come and, like, you know, tell us all the details, and, like, you know, and we could probably go till May, but, like, you know, you had to come here sometime in December when it was not fully fleshed out and so on. And we think about it as something that, like, you know, we are doing it with a certain amount of uncertainty, but we want to proceed because this might be good for the kids. Everything is not sorted out. And so that's how I think about the uncertainty as, like, you know, something that we want to proceed with a little bit of uncertainty. We want clarifications. We want the board to be able to give inputs even though we don't really control. And that way I feel like is a good way for us to proceed even when there is budgetary needs, because otherwise curricular stuff often doesn't come to us, but, like, you know, you inform us, but we don't really have an input into it. So I guess I'm responding to partly what Megan was saying. Like, you know, even if I have some level of discomfort with respect to everything that's going on, I think it's important that we take some uncertainty in, you know, and move forward in order to make progress, because this might be a good thing for the kids, like, you know, often. That's why you're proposing it to us.
Thank you. Dana and then Donna.
So I think it's very confusing to the public because by putting in per board approval, we still haven't clarified or defined whether or not the board should be approving schedule changes or anything like that. We're in the process of, I guess, figuring that out, or wherever we are with that. So I think by putting per board approval, it appears to the public that we're approving the schedule changes, where in reality, we're just approving the budget that allows you to do what you want with the schedule. So I think it's a little confusing to the public, and it's a little bit uncomfortable because we didn't approve a schedule change, and we're not approving the schedule. So that's one comment. And then the other thing is, I don't know if I'm the only one that's realizing this, or maybe this is something that is, so I see A, B, C, D. That's 4 days. So is that gonna be, there's not gonna be a 5th day? So it'll just be 4 days that rotate And then one day, one of these will repeat.
Yes, just like the high school.
Okay.
And then that way, and actually so much so that hopefully when it's an A day at the high school, it's an A day at the middle schools also. So that way, we don't have to have these two different letter day calendars across the district.
Okay.
Shannon, can you go back to the first slide for the 7th graders that you showed, please? So when you and I, when you and I spoke, you said that WIN was going to be protected at 8th period. So they can use it the way they currently use it, to get access to resources, take their tests, et cetera. Is there a reason why it's at 7 now?
Well, it was always at 7. I think I shared with you it was going to be in the afternoon. We were doing our best to shift it later in the day per feedback. And then 8th grade, we felt very strongly that in the morning would be fine.
Right.
And that's why in the morning WIN is.
And I stressed to you the importance of perhaps leaving it protected at 8th period because of how it's used and utilized.
Well, and again, if we go to a rotation in the afternoon, there's days when it would rotate to 8th. And we couldn't protect it for both teams as 8th period. Only one team could have it for 8th period. So that would have created sort of an inequity. That was what I think that the principals were sort of thinking this through, would be a challenge to have that just on one team. So if we have an afternoon rotation, there will be points when it is last period, but it would be for both of the middle school teams in the building, not just for one.
Right, so the issue for those who do have skin in the game is that when WIN is, what you're calling, I guess, academic success now, we're gonna call it that, academic success at 8th period and how it's used. So since everyone's on a team, language and life arts, a student can go back to an art room and do the art project, et cetera, and get access to the entire team of teachers. With the way this, if I'm reading this correctly, the way that is set up now, the only teachers they'll have access to are the team teachers, which is no longer language and life arts or music, string bands, et cetera. Is that right?
Not unless there's like because again, remember you've got a bunch of schedules layered on top of other schedules. So there may be one of those teachers available at that point in time. But it's not the entire building.
Right, and so my understanding is that so Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, and I misinterpreted what our conversation was, that, I'm just gonna pick art. That art, because we talked about, I just picked art. That art, you said that students are still gonna have 45 days of art. It's not gonna be in a quarter format. It's going to be in a semester format. And they're going to have an every other type of day. However, you also said that a student could pick art all year long, as perhaps, as an option. So they could, okay.
Yeah, no, a student could not, right now, a student couldn't do that because we don't have a curriculum developed, but long-term, if that would be an elective, so for example, next year is what we're hoping to have an elective in art. So for example, if we had 2D and 3D art, then a student could pick, just like our music kiddos, who are band and chorus, and they want band and chorus every other day, next year they would be able to do that. They could have 2D art on AC day, and 3D art on BD day, so that is the
same, because you'd have,
goal.
okay, because you'd have the same curriculum. So, but what that does for the life arts teachers, if I'm correct, is that they could teach 7th grade one day, 8th grade another day, 7th grade one day, 8th grade another day. So they don't have continuity in what they're teaching for a quarter. So if they flip-flop, so they have to go from one grade to the next, to the next, to the next. So different curriculum every single day, correct?
Every other day. So
Every
A
other
and
day.
C day, they would see 7th grade. And I don't know if you saw on the text schedule, for example, we tried to be as intentional as possible in working to ensure that, for example, you can see on A and C day, our tech teachers would just have 7th grade tech. Because originally it was they could have 7th grade in the morning, they could have 8th grade in the afternoon, and it was just too much prep, too much moving things around, too much storing of materials. And so we worked to do A and C day, 7th grade, B and D day, 8th grade, and you can see we were even intentional with, and as Dr. Beyer said, it might be 3 sections of robotics, 2 architecture, that might depend on student enrollment. but we try to be very intentional at prep for teachers as well. And you can see even with the 3 architecture classes, they have a prep and a duty following in order to prepare for the afternoon for the robotics kiddos coming in.
Right, and again, there are teachers in the middle school who teach different groups of kids every other day. Most notably, our PE teachers do that. They have kids currently on A, C, and E. They see a totally different group of kids on B, D, and F. I did all the letters right. Our band and chorus teachers are also in that same position. So they currently see kids on ACE and a different group on BDF days. When we first put digital media in, it was also structured that way. So they had a different group of kids, ACE, from their BDF. So it's sort of a 50-50 right now, that some people just see the same block of kids for a quarter, but there's another whole group of teachers who are already working on the every other day schedule that is proposed here.
Right, so to Sudhir's point about it being rushed and wanting to do what's best for the students and the kiddos, right? As you say, Shannon, that, the board saw this in November, and then it came to the board for positions through the budget process. That would have been great if we had this type of information prior. I mean, now, it's very conceptual. You got the approval for the positions, and now you're working it out. So now we're going to try and put this in practice. It's conceptual. We have the board. I just, and we're having conversations as if is it our role or is it not our role to vote on a huge structural change in the middle schools that will affect, all of our students. And to, I would have said that maybe taking it a little slower, coming with a plan of how this is all going to work. You may have gotten, a lot of us on board, we wouldn't have to be coming back and forth about this and talking about it. And so Sudhir, to your point, I actually think that if the only way the board is ever going to be able to vote on a middle school schedule is through the budget process, I think that is a problem overall. So what you're saying, you're sending the message is that the only time that the board can ever approve something as big as this would be through the budget process. So then you're inherently asking me to vote no, which is, if this is what we were told we would do, then yes, I probably would have gone no, because I've yet to see teacher feedback or stakeholder feedback from students. And these are the boots on the ground, people who have skin in the game, who can really tell us how this will impact them day to day.
Can I? What you said is a problem and an issue that we have. Number one, that's why I asked those people to sit with the superintendent and try and come up with a plan that they can present to us as to duties and responsibilities. We've spent 20 minutes, 30 minutes almost, talking about this. You're suggesting we throw everything they've done out and just work on it the next year and go back to what we had before and with the problems that we had before and address it how? I mean, right now, we're in April.
So 2 things. You said, first of all, what I'm saying is a problem. So I'd like to know how that is a problem.
It looks to me, and I don't know how the rest of the board members feel, that we've given the task to our administration to run the school district, to operate the school district for the benefit of all our students. They're coming to us and saying, this is a better plan for education. And what you're telling us is, I don't think that I like this. I don't think that people like this. The teachers don't want to do this. You're coming up with every possible problem that could exist. And as an administrator, if I was there, I would say to the teacher, listen, we have a good plan here. We think it's in the best interest of our students to work with this plan. And let's put our heads together, make sure it's done, make sure it works. And if there's a problem, address that particular problem instead of saying, throw the whole thing out and go back to what we were doing. because that's the only choice you're offering us right now.
So
I don't
what
think
were the-
that's true.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I just want to ask, what are the problems with the middle school schedule exactly?
I think we had our principals here discussing some of the issues. They talked about students that had to take, if they wanted to take a second language, had to take 2 languages. They talked about selections, that the kids were locked in and had to take something. They didn't have choice.
Okay, so language,
This was an improvement.
so
Right.
that is one person's opinion, or many people's, that's not mine. So,
Right.
right, and I sit on this board as an equal voting member.
I'm not arguing that point.
So language, so for language, yes, I am totally 100% supportive of language choice, the language that we currently have. So there are, of course, issues with that, because we don't know how French, or how
Right.
French is gonna pan out, how Spanish is gonna pan out, how we have a reduction in force, and then also who's gonna take Mandarin? Because do we know if kids took Mandarin because they didn't want to take music in any way, shape, or form? We don't know that. We can speculate. We think what is or isn't. So what I am suggesting is that we take things slow. We say, oh, we have a conceptual plan, and this is how we think it'll work out, but when I'm being told in a conversation, we can always pivot back later. That's a very expensive experiment.
I don't want to talk about this any longer, but, because we're not getting anywhere. This is just what I said before. We're not getting anywhere. We have hired people here who spent their entire lives educating kids. That's their job. They are professionals. You are telling me that teachers don't like this, students don't like this, it's gonna be a problem.
Paul, I said, I don't know if teachers.
Okay, but that's.
What I asked.
I don't mean to
That's
be
different.
disrespectful toward you, I really don't. You work so hard on all of these things, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but the problem is, you're finding every possible problem that could exist and saying, we shouldn't do it because that might be a problem. And what we're being presented here is a plan for scheduling that addresses a lot of the issues that people have brought to the attention of the district, not necessarily our board members, but our administration. We have our principals who came in here and said, we can't give kids choice, we can't do this, we can't do this. And admittedly, our superintendent came here and we had a presentation and none of us were really all that happy with it. So we said, okay, that doesn't work. We don't like what you've done. We don't like the long periods, the way they were scheduled, we all had concerns about. Go back and bring us something else that does work and does fit into our concerns. And each time we've come here, and all of us have made some comments and concerns and suggestions, and they've tried to address those, but you eventually reach a point where we're not going to be able to solve every problem. And that's what we're presented here tonight. So we spent a tremendous amount of time, and we are in April, and the administration has to make final decisions. And it can't be, okay, well, maybe we'll do this or maybe we'll do that. They have to make a decision. And we don't run the educational aspect of the school district. I mean, there are a few of us here that have had experience professionally as educators. I did a long time ago, and I would never tackle and argue with them about how they're doing something. There may be something I'd like to see different. But in my mind, when you hire somebody who's working on a particular issue, who we've hired for a reason, and none of us were here when the superintendent was hired, but I can tell you right now that the school district is operating pretty well. And some people may disagree with that, but our kids are doing well, and each and every year we've seen some issues that have not been tackled being tackled. I can tell you one right now. When Dr. Byers came here, the curriculum was about 10 years old. It didn't really exist. And now we've had superior efforts on getting that curriculum done. So I don't want to cut you off. I don't mean to cut you off, and I have to apologize if we don't get done because I have to leave at 8:30. And that's not why I'm cutting out anything.
And so you said we don't have a say in educational things, but we vote on curriculum. Why do we vote on curriculum?
We do vote on curriculum.
Right,
Right,
so,
and we also make suggestions and changes to curriculum, but we don't write the curriculum.
no, we don't write the curriculum, we
Right.
hire people to write that curriculum.
make
But
the schedule.
But we're not, no one asked us to write the schedule, right? They asked us to look at the schedule, and why aren't we
Well,
approving it and talking about it? So as a board, I just want you to think about this, is that why wouldn't you want to vote on a middle school schedule? Why wouldn't you want to send the message to the community that you wholeheartedly believe in this and that you, and if it passes, it passes, if it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to. Whether it's, you know, I could say, yes, I think this is great. I think you've made some wonderful changes, or I think that this would be a great first attempt, and we can, of course, maybe come back and look at how we need to adjust later. But when you tell a board of education that they have no authority over a huge structural change, that I do take issue with.
Well, that I agree is a major difference between you and us.
You and us?
Me. I trust the people that we've hired to do the work, and you don't. That's the problem. You don't trust them.
Paul,
No, we shouldn't be doing this in front.
no, so
We
Paul,
shouldn't be doing, Donna,
I
Donna,
have a
I'm gonna
question.
shut my
One
mouth,
moment,
please.
one moment,
I have a
Please.
question.
just a moment.
Yes.
Just a moment.
I just had a question, my hand up.
Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Okay.
But Paul, when you tell me that I don't trust the administration in an accusatory manner, I think you owe me an apology.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do we vote on the schedule or not? Is that something, do we vote on this tonight? Are we voting on this, or you're just presenting it
All right.
as information?
being
That's my
presented.
All
question.
right, you know,
Informational. It's
I hate to
informational.
do this to the administration. Somebody like to make a motion authorizing the administration to do the schedule for the middle schools.
So why, so is this, no, I have a clarification, right? Is scheduling an operational decision? Curriculum, I think, is something that, we care about, because if you're going to teach something that the community doesn't want, we have some responsibility. So I think part of the historical reasons why curriculum is usually thought of as a board responsibility is because there are things that you can teach in the curriculum that the community may not want. I see scheduling as an operational choice. And to me, and this is why the other day when this came up, I was like, I don't want to rush into it without really thinking through it, because there is a reason why there are norms. For 70 years, we've operated under certain principles. This district came about 70 years ago, and we have norms that have been there. When we change those norms, we got to think hard about why we change those norms, rather than rush into it through just a meeting where you say, do you want to do this or not? I'm very uncomfortable with the change of norms of something as large as this. So some of us might think it's a small issue. I am not sure. To me, it's a question of at what point do we make a big change? To me, scheduling is an operational decision, as far as I can see. And if we are going to say that it is not, then I think it would be a discussion.
My suggestion was out of order, to be honest with you. We can't vote on it
Yeah, I
because
don't
it's
think
not
so.
on the agenda, so.
So I just want to say this. Scheduling is a nightmare, and you're not going to please everybody.
Exactly.
It's a huge institution, and you have multiple layers, and we don't need to go through them. But it's something that takes a lot of work. There's always going to be one facet of the community or the institution that's going to have to make an adjustment. It's never, everyone's not going to be happy. But the most important thing is this, we make it so the students are the happiest about this. I know there's parents, I know there's teachers, there's unions, there's administrations, there's principals. Everyone is affected by the schedule. But the most important thing is that the students are being provided with the maximum service we can give them. And that is the responsibility of the superintendent and the administrators to look at that picture, that big picture, and make those choices. And I'm frustrated right now. And that's okay, I'll get over it, but I'm just saying that, like, let's move forward with this. It looks fine to me. I mean, I can't see, it looks like all those kids got a lot of options.
So I don't even know if this is something we vote for, or we're just looking at as a presentation, and we just give her our input sometimes. We've given her input for the last how many months? And this is what she's come up with. Now we're gonna tear it apart again?
This is on the agenda because a board member asked it to, for an update. That's why it's there. Before we go on to the questions, I think what hasn't changed is up there now, right? That's
Yeah.
what stays the same.
Yes, so we kept the team model, that was incredibly important to the teachers. The 42-minute period is the same. Daily advisory, which you didn't see in the schedule, but it's likely between periods 1 and 2, which is where it is right now, stays there. The bell schedule is basically the same, I mean, the times will be almost identical to what they are right now. The teachers in ELA, math, social studies, science, Spanish, PE, and band and chorus will be teaching in the exact same way that it's the same schedule for them for next year as it is this year. And then WIN, which is the rebranded academic success, does occur every day. And you saw from the model, afternoons for 7th graders, because again, they're new to middle school, they have to kind of figure out what they do with that extra time. We flipped it to the morning for 8th graders, thinking we could support those kids, because when they come here in 9th grade, they can get study hall at any point in the day, and they're with 150 other kids in the cafeteria with no supervision. So a little bit of structured academic, WIN time in the morning for 8th graders gets them set for a transition to 9th grade. But for the most part, more of this, and again, based on your feedback, more of this schedule is the same than it actually is different from where we currently are.
Okay, we're gonna do a few questions. Let me apologize to everyone. I should have not been doing that. I mentioned about conducting the business of the board and moving things along. That was not appropriate, and I'm sorry, Donna, I didn't mean to offend you, really. And
Thank you,
I do respect you because I know how hard you work and how much you care, so I do apologize.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it, and I accept your apology.
Okay, we're gonna do a few more questions. Carol, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm just listening to the conversation and thinking about curriculum versus a schedule change. We're responsible for the education of the students across our district. There is no education without curriculum. So I see why we vote on curriculum. That is like, here are the like core building blocks for education. Curriculum is needed, it's central. That's how our kids learn. So yes, we should vote on curriculum. I agree with you that I'd see this as more of an operational task, and we should be working together as board and superintendent to, come to some agreement, right? Like, you should have board support for the operational decisions that you're making, which I think we've seen over the past few months. People have expressed concerns, they've, commented about things that they like, but that's how I'm thinking about this. So curriculum is central to education, to educating the students of this district. And so we are responsible for that, and therefore we should ensure that it's there, that it's high quality, and that it's revised with some frequency. But that's sort of how I'm thinking about those two things separately. So just wanted to offer that for us to think about.
Just to add to that comment about curriculum, I do think state statutes require us to vote on curriculum. Autumn?
So thank you both for your work on all of this. I know in past presentations we had talked about there's concern too specifically around students receiving special education in the rotation. Does this, as it currently is, does WIN still rotate in a way that doesn't have those students being pulled out as frequently? Or is this more, because I see it here, but I'm not sure, you know what I mean, in the day-to-day of that.
So what happens right now is we typically pull or provide kids intervention and usually overlap with their world language.
Yeah.
mostly because they kind of like the electives better than they like the world language. It's sort of academic-y, and that they would rather be out of that. And for a student who doesn't require, and this would be more IEP driven, to have the services every day, we have the challenge of what do we do with them if they're only getting the services every other day. So what has been the practice is they go back to the world language class and they audit it every other day. That has been a consistent complaint from our world language teachers, because it's incredibly difficult then to teach those kids when they're only getting half of it. And we just didn't have a good structure to provide the interventions without having it sort of overlap with another class and still give them electives, or their life arts. So this schedule allows us more flexibility where we don't have to do that. And the increase in choice electives now means that they don't have to take a world language. They're not forced into, say, a study hall or just an empty space. We can fill it with some other choices for them.
Jen?
So I would love to know how you plan to assess this in terms of, what the teachers think, not in the middle now, but sort of like once you've done it for a quarter or half a year, or then once it's a year, and kind of what's the plan for that? Because my sense is this isn't like set in stone where, you do this and it's like, okay, now we're gonna have to keep at it for 5 years before we make any changes.
So as we, sort of approached this point, what our principals did is they went and just had individual meetings with each team. 4 or 5 people sitting around a table is a much better conversation than presenting at a faculty meeting. So we'll definitely get feedback as we roll it out right at the very beginning, and we'll work through what are going to be the glitches. But I would say halfway through, probably a third of the way through the year, because we're gonna have to kind of repeat this process as we budget plan for next year. We would look and go back and have those same type of feedback meetings with each of the teams.
Because my sense is one of the reasons that it is hard for us to vote on something like this compared to curriculum is that, So if we vote on it and then a quarter in, there's a problem, do we then have to vote on it again? Versus giving them the ability to set this and then make changes as needed because it's a more operational.
Well, I think one of the bigger problems is we don't even really know if we're supposed to be voting on this or not. So I think that's a big issue, because there hasn't been a clear answer, like, that we do get to vote on this or we don't get to vote on this.
Have we done it before in the past? Have we voted on schedules in the past?
Not to our recollection, but again, I'm
And
relying
but the
on-
schedule change hasn't come, you haven't done this in how many years?
I would say when the high school switched to the 8-drop-2, that would have been the last significant schedule change. Dr. Tracy and I think Mrs. LaPlante were the only ones who were here, and they said there was no board vote on it. But that would have been the last time that there was anything significant.
We have a couple of times had changes involving bringing in new staff members because it was a budgetary item when presented, and we did vote on that, but it was, once again, it's voted as a budgetary item.
Yeah.
Okay, Megan?
So for those who are saying scheduling is operational, my concerns and my questions are not about, I want to tell you when to have what period. As somebody who is maybe closer to this than some of the other board members, because I have 2 middle schoolers, we're actually changing what curriculum these children are accessing by their choice. So right now, children in 7th and 8th grade are exposed to all the life arts. You may have children who opt out entirely by their choice of, for example, digital media in both 7th and 8th grade. They may not be getting access to and learning how to use critical tools that they will need in their other classes, both in middle school and high school. And yes, that's by their choice, but I'm just saying by offering these choices, you are altering the curriculum that the children will access in the 7th and 8th grade years that is supposed to be preparing them for high school. So that is the impetus for where my questions are coming from. I'm not trying to tell them you should have 8 periods a day, you should have 10 periods a day, you should have lunch at this time, that so when you're condensing it to scheduling, I think that's minimizing where the concerns are coming from, I guess is.
Okay, just a response, and I'm not responding for everybody, but we're still offering those, and although, just as you said, it becomes a choice for the parent and the child to make. And it's a compromise, it's not the best, because I know exactly where you're coming from of it, that maybe we should have all the kids do that. But on the other side of the coin, there are probably just as many people say, I don't want my child to do it because they have no interest and it's just going to be something boring and something for them. So I guess this is a close compromise.
I'm just saying, like, that's why I don't see it as solely an operational discussion.
So,
Yes.
So Paul, I did ask a previous board member who was on the board long time ago, and I did ask, when the high school schedule changed, did that come to the vote at the board? And the response was no, because it was done in tandem, that the board was very much involved in this and was approving it along the way. So that's why there wasn't a need for any type of actual vote.
Right.
And that's kind of what we're doing.
Okay, can we
We can.
end this discussion now? We have everything. I don't know where to go with this, but I would say there's two possibilities. At a future meeting, we get it on the agenda to vote the schedule, to approve it, or the second possibility is to approve authorizing the superintendent and the administration to make the schedule. But I'm telling you right now, unless there's an overwhelming amount of support for either one of those motions, and I get that information, I don't see that's absolutely required. So I do feel that in spite of all my ridiculous rants and raves, we have had a really good discussion about this. If we were looking at our history, this is dramatically different than the thing that was first proposed. And it's different because of all the questions that we brought up. And I just don't know if we go any further without having to just say, let's just drop it, because there's always going to be problems.
Well, can I just say, the reason I say this about the governance issue is it's really important that we give inputs, and I really appreciate what Donna has done and like others have done to push this, and all of us have done, but it's a great governance issue, right? It has to be built with our inputs. But I think anything that involves any kind of trade-offs, it's going to be difficult for an administration to get 13 people on the board to say, then we reduce it to a vote, which says then we are now permanently agreeing to every change that you do. We want an iterative process where they come back and talk to us and tell us what the problems are. And we do not want to say, oh, you misrepresented us to get the vote, right? Because we don't want that. We want them to honestly come and tell us, here is what we proposed. We thought at that time this was what we were saying, but there was a glitch. It didn't work. We want to come back. We want them to honestly come back to us. And that is really what the governance issue is. Governance comes from a position of trust where it matters. And that is why I don't like the idea of a vote, especially on a scheduling issue, which I think is fundamentally an operational issue. But even more than that, I think that I want them to come honestly and come with inputs. And that's a kind of a good relationship between a CEO and a board. And we want the administration to come to us, honestly. So I really say this out of principle, the way good governance should work. And I'm not saying this because, I want to argue about something. I really believe this is good governance.
Thank you. Well, district health and safety.
Oh, that would be me.
And thank you for serving, Donna. We appreciate it.
Sure, anytime. District Health, Safety, and Wellness Committee met last Wednesday. And so they go through the nurses' reports for those who it's been a little while. Facilities reports, the finance report just, discussing that the budget was approved at an increase of 1.2, behavior and climate, building crisis committee, et cetera. So after sitting on this committee for a number of years, the one thing that really, it's like this thing that, you hear over and over, and, first time you hear it, oh, okay, second, third, and now it's been years. And the one thing that I hear consistently is that from the nurses, that students come to the nurse at around between 10 and 11. They haven't eaten. So they haven't eaten in the morning. And then it led to a conversation about hot food and what's available and kids who have free and reduced lunch. And then the CGA potentially having a bill that would require providing, school districts to provide free breakfast. Again, I'm sorry, I said lunch, I meant breakfast. And so the question was that students don't get an opportunity to eat. And you can say it's by choice because the hot meal of preference isn't available until 7:30. And that is because the ovens aren't heated up, the school building opens. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong at any point, or no, it was, Shannon was there. And Jen, you were both there, oh my goodness. That the building opens at 6:45 in the morning. Ovens need to heat up, it's tater tots. So the kids don't really get an opportunity to eat. These are all grab and go items. They can't eat in passing, can't eat in the classrooms, and they can eat in the study hall, which is in the cafeteria in the morning. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done, get the ovens up earlier. So because the buses, I believe the building opens 7:15.
Yeah, I would say that's when they start arriving.
Right. So that's the first thing. I don't know if that's, how do we get our kids to eat, right? And so that they're not feeling ill. And then just also that came up was that the middle school PE teachers are currently working on the scope and sequence for the fitness and health. So they're not really sure, as of last week, where that was going. But otherwise, that would be, and just, I don't think it's really worth saying, mentioning, because the negative balance on school lunches. If by the end of the year, we're in a better spot.
Are you aware of that kids aren't eating breakfast in the morning?
Yes. Again, it comes through health and safety frequently.
Is there something we could do about that?
We could change the schedule. I'm just joking.
Let them starve.
No, but I mean,
ad hoc time.
Start school at 8.
7:30 is crazy.
And then they all get to eat.
And there's also the,
Yeah, that's it,
you
late
need to get
schedule.
up earlier and eat breakfast. I mean, I hate to say that, but I had one of those. You don't feel good because you didn't eat breakfast.
Yeah, but it's hard with their developmental stage. They just, it's hard.
And
not
we all had to
hungry.
get high school jobs. You can get up 10 minutes early, your kid can have an egg sandwich on the way or eat a granola bar.
Well,
Like,
like,
when does it become a parent's responsibility and not us to make the entire school a free breakfast because a bunch of kids are too lazy or the parents are too lazy to feed them?
What about the kids, just a question, Mike, what about the kids who come in, who have free breakfast?
But they get
Yeah,
free, but
there's-
they get free breakfast. Maybe I misheard you, but I thought you said that the issue is that it's not a desired, not that there's not food available.
Right.
But it's not desired. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of times that my kids want me to get pizza every night, but if I'm gonna make a salad, it's not the desired, but it's part of, but it's available.
So, but the question is, so.
They like salad more than pizza. I'm not gonna lie, I'm the only one who likes
Put
pizza
out a
in the
bowl of
house.
fruit and a granola bar on the table as they all come in. They got food.
That's a good
And it's
question.
essentially what we have. It's a grab and go. As they come in, they can take it from the cafeteria. They can do it, sort of eat quickly, get it before they head off to the classes. The it's in the same service.
No, I mean, like, what's currently offered? What's the grab and go?
Cereal, there's yogurt, there's granola, there's.
And anyone can get that.
Is the
So
issue,
you still have to pay for it right now. It's not free yet.
Right, but anyone could just go and get that if they didn't eat breakfast.
But those who are on free lunch also get free breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
Do they only have access to the hot meal and not the à la carte grab-and-go items? Is that the issue?
No, they all, like, it's sort of just like the lunch, you take different pieces and it forms what would be considered the
Because
meal.
like I know for lunch, the free lunch is only this lunch. Like, is that,
Well, there's components that make up a lunch, so it's multiple choices, but that make up a lunch. So you have to make a meal. So breakfast, I don't believe as many requirements as a lunch meal does.
but it's not that what is allowed under free breakfast is not available. I just wanna make sure that that's not the issue.
What is allowed under free breakfast is available to the students and they can get it.
Right, and Shannon, I think was also brought up was that there are fewer breakfast takers in the morning.
Correct.
As well. So people, so to your point, you have options to both. If you get lunch, you also get breakfast, but not as many kids are taking that for whatever reason.
All right, well, once again, I'm gonna apologize,
Looks like we'll be reviewing that in a little while anyway, so.
Yes, we are.
I have a commitment that I can't do anything about, and it has nothing to do with basketball. District technology.
UConn game.
Anything? We don't have anything, all right. It's on page 7.
It's in this.
And facilities, we do.
Facilities, so a lot, we've got a meeting tomorrow, but just two things I'd like to point out that are on the report. March 24th, there was a meeting with DEEP, UI, Fuel Cell, the town, the district, trying to plan for another test of the fuel cell, where the town is taking a more active role in, they're going to draft a letter to the people of the town saying that this isn't working and this is our emergency shelter to maybe kind of get fuel cell working and get them to make this work. The other thing that's maybe a little bit more pressing issue that I wanted to mention is the HVAC system at AMSO. We've had an issue with sludge building up in the glycol loop. We're, part of the bond process that we've been working on is looking at possibly replacing to upgrade this system, but we're trying to see what we can do to fix this in the meantime until then. What Band-Aid we can put on it until we could get a bond issue to replace it.
Okay. All right. So we go to finance, which we have quite a bit of stuff to deal with. And I'll turn it over to you, Pat. Just this one here is the one that in discussion. Okay.
I'll preface that every single one of these items was approved at finance unanimously.
Yep.
Every single one.
All right, so we'll go to item A, discussion and possible action on healthy food certification.
So we bring this to you every year. We're required by the state to take action on these items. We participate in the National School Lunch Program and the Healthy Foods Program under the state of Connecticut. If the board were to choose not to participate in the Healthy Foods, we would lose revenue of about $13,000 a year, but it wouldn't change the menu since these requirements align with the federal requirements. So the board is required to take action on both items individually. One is that we will follow the guidelines for the healthy foods, and then the second one is the times that we are allowed to make exceptions.
All right.
We have to make them separately, right?
Yes.
I make a movement to recommend the Amity Board of Education approve all the sales of food items will comply with the CGS section 10-215F as stated above.
Second.
Discussion? All right, let's call the roll.
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Shekay?
Yes.
Dr. Krunagran?
In the bathroom.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Davis? Oh. Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Villagelay?
Yes.
Mr. Buse?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
All right, can I get a motion on the second, which is move to approve all sales of food items to comply with Connecticut General Statutes 10-215F as stated above?
The next one is move to exempt
Oh,
food and
I'm sorry,
beverage items
you're right,
sold
I'm
at
sorry.
events.
Thank you for that. So move to exempt food and beverage items sold at events as stated above.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? No? All right, then let's call the roll.
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Abstain.
Ms. Rebuse?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Abstain.
And Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, the next would be the discussion and possible action on contracts over 35,000, starting on page 12. And this is one of the ones where we have a amendment to the agenda.
You should all have a revised memo in front of you that has now 3 contracts listed, one for facilities and one for technology. So the first one is for the fire suppression system, for inspection and testing of the fire and suppression system in all 3 schools. 4 vendors submitted bids, 1 submitted an incomplete response, so the second lowest bid was from Encore Fire Presentation for $57,280 for 3 years. First year of the contract is $18,560. The second one is for trash and recycling, and we had 3 vendors respond, and the current vendor is the lowest bidder. So we are recommending to go with them. And do you want me to do the third one? The servers, that's for the technology infrastructure. And that came in for Mr. DeRosa for $264,000. The board had set aside $200,000 in the educational reserve last year and $50,000 in the current budget. And the difference will come from the money for the Bethany CEN line, the connection from the state that has been delayed to pay for. We've had the service, we just haven't had to pay for it. Now we don't have to pay for it until July 1. The state isn't implementing that. They're purchasing 5 servers, 3 for the high school, 1 for each middle school. Mr. DeRose explained at the Finance Committee it allows for redundancy and handles the traffic of everything on the network and stores files.
And they've exceeded their 5-year life, so we're on borrowed time.
This is recommended to the board.
And all 3 of these are for this?
The current budget.
Were these taken
Well, I'm sorry,
No, they're
no,
for,
sorry.
they would go into 26, 27, they would
The-
start 26.
The facilities,
Yeah.
the facilities are for next year. The servers is next.
Servers are for now.
Yes.
And the Amity Board of Finance approved all of them.
Yes.
Do we take the vote together or should we?
So we actually took the facilities together because they're for 3 years and for start in 26, 27, and did the technology infrastructure separately. So for consistency, just I recommend that.
All right, so can we get these 2 motions, the 2 facilities motions?
I'll make a motion to approve the fire suppression system contract to Encore Fire Protection and the 3-year contract for trash and recycling to All American Waste. I make a motion to award those contracts.
I second it.
Any discussion? Seeing none,
Can we talk about how it's scheduled?
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Way too soon for that.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kronekramer?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Ms. Rebuse?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster? Mr. Young?
Yes.
All right, and can we get a motion to move to award the purchase of 5 servers from Vancord through the Omnia Consortium bid at a cost of $264,808.48?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Yeah, sure. Mike's been really trying.
Man, I don't have a basketball game to go to.
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kronekramer?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Ms. Rebuse?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Okay, now I think what I'm understanding is things are, that now I believe we have a discussion of the monthly statements.
Correct. So there was no change in the revenue forecast. There was a change favorably, about $337,000 on expenses. Couple of things, mostly just trying to estimate as people are spending down their budgets, what will be left on lines. The biggest change really was on utilities, and that was that we had projected to be $250,000 over budget. Looking at the forecast, kind of brought that down a little bit to like 190, but then the UI informed us that they will be giving us a $95,000 credit on our next invoice due to a review of being charged the wrong meter rate for the last 10 years.
I need to call them. At least it's in the right direction. Can you imagine if it wasn't?
What? It happened the day after we had the microgrid meeting. And they can't really explain why.
Well, at least we don't owe them money.
You're in your favor. It's $100.
Insurance claims were favorable again this month, so that's positive. Snow plow, we hope is done for the season, although I saw flurries projected for tomorrow morning. But all three accounts are over budget, and you'll see a transfer later in the packet.
So then next would be the transfers under $3,000.
And you will see a lot for March, because as everyone is trying to place their final orders and consolidate what money they have left in their budgets.
And then, discussion and possible action on budget transfers over $3,000.
So we have 4 transfers for special education, and we have 2 for facilities and 1 for Orange Middle School. So Mr. Brandt is asking for a transfer for transportation related to the McKinney-Vento Act, a transfer for tuition shortfall at VOAG and magnet schools who now have bailed out the tuition for special ed services provided to students who attend there, and then a budget transfer of $9,000 for just staff outside the district who will provide homebound services compared to inside the district. It's offered to current staff, it's just they haven't taken up all the opportunity. And then the last budget transfer is to cover 2 extended long-term maternity leaves for special education teachers with an outside agency.
Maybe it's approved them all.
All right, well then, can we get a motion to approve all 4 special education transfers as listed below? Autumn and Mike?
I seconded.
All right, any discussion?
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kronik-Ron?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Ms. Rabuse?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Yes.
Ms. Schlenk?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And then,
So the 2 for facilities are, 1 is for cost of snow plowing, salting, and sanding at the high school and Orange Middle Schools. As I said, all 3 schools are over budget. Bethany was only over just short of $3,000, so their 5420 account, the repair and maintenance accounts can cover that. But the high school in Orange needs a transfer. And the second transfer is to cover the cost of backstop fence repairs at the high school baseball and softball fields. We had $10,000 budgeted, and the price off the state bid contract is $14,508. So both these transfers are coming from the facilities account for contingency.
okay, so we can we get a motion to approve the transfers listed below?
Both are recommended by the.
Yes.
Everything's okay.
Thank you. Sorry. No, it's okay.
Yeah, did you, are you looking for a motion, right?
Yes, please. Sudhir, and then can I have a second? Megan? All right.
Ms. Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kronik-Ron?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Ms. Rabuse?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Oladelay?
Yes.
Ms. Schlenk?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
And the last one is for course risers at Orange Middle School, and you could see that Ms. Burke is transferring from many different accounts to make the purchase for the choral risers, 7570.
All right, can we get a move to approve the transfer for furniture for chorus risers?
I'll second.
And then Carol.
Cloud Ingram?
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet?
Yes.
Dr. Kunakron?
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi?
Yes.
Mr. Buse?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. McDonough?
Yes.
Dr. Ulla
Yes.
Ms. Schlank?
Yes.
Ms. Schuster?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
So now we have motion for food service update.
So just giving you information that the program is currently running a deficit this year with a projected loss of $71,000. We currently do have $258,000 in the fund balance, so we will not be asking for a transfer this year from the board from the operating budget, but that could happen in 2 to 3 years if this trend continues. Several contributing factors. One is the increased number of students with negative balances. At one point, we were over 10,000, but due to the efforts of the finance department, Ms. Kolik, and phone calls and messages, that is down to $7,300, but still much more than we normally have. A la carte sales are down. Students who have negative balances are not allowed to make purchases of a la carte sales. So we do feel that may have an impact on it. Decline in breakfast sales since the state no longer subsidized reduced students. At one point, all students had free breakfast, then free students, reduced students on reduced meals had free breakfast, and this year we're back to the standard of if you're free, you get it free, reduced, you pay a minimal amount, and if you're not on either of those programs, you pay full price. There's been a few large repairs to the walk-in freezer here at the high school, and Mr. Martoni's put me on notice that there's another unit in the cooler that is as old as the part that was replaced before, so there could be another expense in the near future. There's also cafeteria staff who are eligible for paid leave, just like we see on our side of the budget, which extends this shift of other staff members, but it comes at a higher cost. So it's just really giving you information at this point, how the program's running.
Can you share how much is owed by students who are on reduced or free? You said 7,000 total, but.
Only 2 of the families with balances over $50 are on reduced meals. None are on, well, free wouldn't be.
Do you know the total, though?
Pardon me?
Do you know the total
Of what they
of what is owed by students who are free or reduced?
Well, free wouldn't know anything.
Free doesn't have any. They wouldn't have anything.
But they could get à la carte or no?
Free can buy à la carte, but you can't charge à la carte. Nobody's ever allowed
Okay,
to charge
that's
à
only
la
for the
carte.
meal. Okay, so reduced, do you know how much is for reduced?
I only know that there's 2 families that with balances over 50. We could go back and look at the data, but I don't have it in front of me. Yeah.
Terry, did you say that we're not sure the reason there's a decrease in lunch percentage taken?
Increase in lunch?
Decrease of the number of students who buy lunch.
So year over year, there is, I believe, a little bit of a decline, like percentage points, between schools. That's really hard to tell. It's not significant enough to know whether it's just that particular class isn't as interested compared to the class before.
Oh, we did raise lunch prices. Was it last year and the
We
year
did.
before, or just?
We've raised them for the last 2 years.
Right, we paid one. Yeah, that might have an impact.
But we do have a formula from the state that requires us to compare what we're charging, what the cost of food is, and to make sure that the federal money is not subsidizing the cost of the paid lunch.
Right. Is there any way to know what other school districts charge for lunch versus what we charge for lunch?
When we raised the prices last year, we were very comparable. There was definitely some who were more than us, and there were some who were less, but not much less than us. So it was very comparable. I haven't done a survey yet because I'm not looking at price yet.
Just a question, does the size of a district change what the contract rate is for food?
The size of the district change what the
Yes.
contract rate is for?
Right, so because a larger district has a larger volume, do they get a better
No,
pricing?
they're working with
as a wholesale?
Chartwell, so they're working across, Chartwell's is outsourcing it for all of their Chartwell's clients.
I mean, I think so Bethany also has Chartwells, and typically when we are like going through contract increases, we get the exact same increase as we work together, but we end up with the same contract cost.
We talked about this one other time. Woodbridge doesn't use Chartwell's. They have an in-house service, right?
Correct, yes.
Orange, I believe, does as well.
And we talked about that Amity used to, but then,
Not for the last 25, 30 years that I know of.
now, is it more cost-effective to outsource it?
It has been for us. I mean, it's, taking on the food service program is a whole nother level of staffing. Which they struggle with the same things we do, trying to staff those departments. And then knowing all of those procedures for the HACCP trainings and the food procurement and all that, so it is.
Yeah, I've only ever worked in one district that it was part of the district, and it was significantly more expensive than than a comparable district where it was outsourced. For most of those, it's almost like kind of the overhead management piece, you have to have all of that in-house, whereas Chartwell's can have kind of like just a few people doing that and kind of just the day-to-day operations of the schools.
I'm just thinking if there's different choices, healthier choices, local farm choices that are any different for the elementary schools that have an in-house service versus using a large organization that's outsourced. I'm just curious if we know that, or if there's any benefit at all. But it sounds like, since we haven't done it in a while, there would be a lot of operational expenses.
Yeah, definitely, especially I think at the initiation of the process, but, and it would be significantly more staff.
A lot of FTE.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what it costs to outsource it, so.
It'd be interesting if we knew if because the prices went up, if kids were bringing their lunch from home more. That could be a good thing.
That's what they're bringing.
That's true.
All right, well, let's move on to the CNR quarterly report.
So those are informational reports for the CNR, the educational reserve, and the grants, just where we are this quarter.
And the educational expenditure reserve quarterly report.
Yep.
Yeah, they're all the same, they're all together.
And the grants
Yeah,
quarterly
those.
report. Okay, so then let's go to policy, and we've got a second read on page 60.
Yeah, you probably don't even remember doing the first read because it was back in October. But after feedback from that, it went back to policy, and we basically worked on it from October through March. And I believe that I can say the 5 members of the policy committee, especially the 3 that were here when the policy first came up, that it addressed all the concerns with the help of some of our new members. So it is here for a second read and approval.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve? Mike, thank you. And a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Comments, questions, concerns?
So I think it was, so correct me if I'm wrong, Dana, it was you and also Kathy, when we were talking about how the position came to the board for a vote. So we went back and we tried to address those concerns so that it wouldn't feel as if it was the first time you were.
And I think they did a good job of bringing it back and representing us a little bit better.
Since this was done by the policy committee, I'm willing to go along. But I have to say that I am not particularly think that, there has to be so much board involvement in the district level directors and so on, because from my perspective, it's not entirely clear, like, meaning I think the board's input is useful. The board obviously can have input into it, but at the same time, I'm not entirely sure how many of us have expertise hiring and, learning about what a district level administrator is doing. And there is this interesting trade-off between what knowledge we bring to bear and and so on. And I think it seems relatively costless, I guess, to have the board, if board members are willing to do it. I think input is fine, but at the same time, there is a part of me that is concerned about what expertise we bring to bear, what it is that we know about somebody, many of the district level what is that job? How many, have we interviewed people and learned, have any expertise? If somebody just comes into the board, mostly we have selected to be on the board because somebody from either party decided that we are supposed to represent something. And I don't know, I always worry about this issue of governance of the board. This is a larger question that we've been thinking about. What is the role of the board and why do we want to do it? And I feel like that discussion is probably broader than this particular question. And again, I just wanted to bring this up because I am somewhat uncomfortable with that trade-off. And I will leave it at that and let the others discuss.
So, thank you for bringing that up. I actually thought we decided that we weren't interested in directors as well, because this includes certified and non-certified support staff. Or did I miss a meeting or miss something? But I know the policy committee had a lengthy discussion about sort of where to draw the line, and I thought we said superintendent and building principals.
So then we also, I was under the impression that a person like Terry as director of finance, director of technology, director of facilities, and assistant superintendent were also part of that. Those are all what we would consider senior administration positions.
So I just want to remind the original policy. So the original policy, I'm going to make it very simple, was that Jen would bring a candidate to the board and we would vote. And the comfort level wasn't there because this was the first time and that you were actually meeting them or seeing them in any way, shape, or form. And it was when the candidate was in the room with the board and then expected to vote. And so we had several conversations about this. And then what was also in the policy was we could say no. And then that would actually have Jen start from ground zero and all over again. So during the policy, it had been in policy for a while. And part of the conversation was that Jen said there's value in having the board vote, because we said, why would we even want to vote? And that there's value for the administrator holding that position because they have the vote of the board outside of the superintendent. And so then that led to the conversation of, we're not saying all board members sit on there. Of course, Jen would be doing the background. So it would just be more or less bringing the board along. And, if there are any concerns that board members would have that input, but in no way is it to overrule what the superintendent feels would be part of her team that she would need to work with. But it also just puts Jen in the position to, the board knows these candidates. On paper, we have the conversation, we have 2 board members who had been in those interviews, and if any red flags, and then it's up to Jen to actually do the background checks. And that would be left up to her. 3 candidates, then I think that's what we left it at. 3 candidates, Jen?
2 up to 3.
Yeah, 2 up to 3.
So a couple of things. One, we heard board members loud and clear last time, and we wanted to find a way for board members to be more involved in the process and not just meet someone at the time you're voting, right? So I think that's in there. It's keeping the board abreast, bringing 2 to 3 candidates, So they're involved, inviting board members who may want to participate in some, maybe later round of interviewing. What I don't recall is like, this happening for everyone down to like non-certified support staff. So I have no interest.
I don't think that, but no, I think that's saying
That's not
that
there.
that's not who's gonna be brought. I think that's just saying
Yeah, we're
the
only going
superintendent
to
has
the
the
administrative.
authority to employ these people, but down here it's saying that she's going to just bring the people for the, what's the word?
Oh, senior administrative staff.
Administrative
Right,
staff.
it's just.
So my question
just
is
senior.
building.
more
It's
about
just
the
senior.
district level administrators and the idea that 2 members of the board have to be present.
No, they don't have to be,
No, they're
they don't
invited.
have to be
Invited,
presented,
not
they only have to be
required.
invited.
No, no, a minimum of 2 members shall be invited.
Right, but we don't have to
Have to
go.
be
We can
present.
all vote and say, oh, nobody's gonna
They'll
go.
be invited, not.
Just to give us the option if you wanna go. Like last time, who went? She's not here anymore.
Carla Eckler.
Yeah,
Shall-
Carla
Shall
went.
is always a very
Very interesting.
interesting word in
Yeah,
policy.
shall be invited.
My
I like
issue with the policy is like the number, like senior administrative staff includes all district level directors and school principals. I'm fine with,
School principals.
yes, and that's it. I personally have no interest in, because a lot of this is like.
No interest in you, Tara.
But here's the thing, it has to be, I think below that, it's about fit, it's about which, financial person's gonna like work with your team well and work with you well, like that, we can't determine that. Like, your team has to,
Yeah,
so.
but Jen's still gonna be picking, we're just present so that we can be involved. Like, we're not gonna be interviewing your replacement, we're gonna be watching Jen interview her replacement.
Yep.
And then if we have issues, we can bring it up to the board.
But what I'm saying
You're
is.
not going anywhere.
Correct,
Terry, no.
but only
Don't go
accommodating principals. I'd like, why are we,
Well, there's only a few
Yeah, there's what?
district level
Like,
supervisors,
how
and
many,
they're pretty,
how
and
many
they're pretty
people
big.
total fit into this category?
Yeah,
And the turnover is presumably very
Very,
low at
very
that
low.
level.
That's true.
So,
But yeah.
And that's assistant principals, so 3 principals, you, Terry, Steve, Sean, Jill, Ernie.
so you're talking less than 10 people
Right.
who likely are
People is a
here.
lot.
And we're just, and more importantly, we're just being
Hang
brought
on, hang on, hang on,
along,
hang on.
as opposed to when we hired Shannon, no offense Shannon, but it was very, it wasn't really presented in a way where, yes, Carla Eichler was there and there was another representative, but.
Andrea Hubbard. Yeah, there was another,
There was another one, I don't remember who it
there
was.
was 2 board
oh,
members.
But we weren't really informed, and it was kind of, the way it was presented, especially to the new board members, is this was just a formality. There was a lot of board members that didn't even show up. And the only way we had a say in it was if everybody voted no. So to me, feels a little bit better about bringing us along, informing us, and we're part of the process. We're not making the decision.
Could there be a better process? So-
Jen's had her hand up for a long time, and I've had my hand up internally for a long time. Because this is something that I've thought about for many weeks. And we've talked a lot.
You said you were gonna let Jen go.
I'm cutting you off. I said, mine was up first. I was waiting. I actually said to Carol, Carol, can I just say this part piece
I'm so
quickly?
sorry.
And she talked right over me.
no, I thought you were
But
like,
it's-
go ahead.
You have this.
I know, I don't want to use that. One of the things, my issue with this is I think about this board, and we've talked about how we want to become more unified and more cohesive and kind of break down some walls. And I think about probably the best time that we've worked together was the first day when our new members joined the board, and Megan was nominated for something. Now, I don't know Megan. I never met Megan. Probably, we have probably some pretty different viewpoints. And to a person, without knowing her, we all said, Megan Abuse, and everyone supported her, sight unseen, regardless of party, regardless of a lot of things. And it sent a message that I don't know you, but I believe in you, that somebody nominated you that believed in you, and I have faith in that team. And so for me, the idea of us bringing the people to the board before just coming in, I'm not a fan of it. Because I think it misses the
We're
opportunity.
not paying Megan a dime. Megan's here on her own accord.
Megan was actually voted in, just as
By
all
a
of us
town.
were.
You were, but as,
We're not
but,
paying her any
but I'm
money.
saying, no, I'm saying, when you were elected treasurer, there was a nomination for you. There was no, like, at that point, there could have been a nomination against you, but everybody said, you know what? I believe in, somebody recommended and thought she'd be good, and we took faith in the people that were with us.
So the difference,
And that's,
I hear you, I hear you.
I understand you, I understand you
I hear
hear
you,
me.
but-
I understand you hear me,
Let him
but
make his connection.
I just feel, like I said, I'm okay with this in that we're gonna bring two people forward. I think we're missing an opportunity to have faith in our people that are making the decisions and to just come together. That's simply all I have to say. And with that, I'll defer to Jen.
I was gonna make the suggestion that perhaps the first round with the 2 to 3 candidates be with the personnel committee. Have that be who does that first round, and of course, anybody can attend that meeting, but it would be we're not voting, right? On that first, the 2 to 3 people is just giving the information, so maybe that round happens at the personnel committee, and then the final round where we vote can happen at the board meeting. Just streamlines it a little bit, and then also, just for getting tired of lots of things happening, it might make it a little
Instead
easier.
of
District people have
is that
been
repla-
hired.
Are you saying the personnel committee?
Lately, besides Shannon and, I forget
So
who
this
you
exact
replaced already.
policy,
Hired two. I hired
Frank and,
Frank, that's right, I had to do him twice. Tom, Steve, and Shannon, 4.
so this
That's in what,
exact
10 years?
policy,
7 years.
but I'm suggesting this first part that says prior to selection, right, 2 to 3 candidates to the Board of Education. Instead of to the Board of Education, it would be to the Personnel Committee.
because the other thing I brought up.
Because everybody
in-
can, it's not a vote, right? The
Right.
personnel, this section, bring it to the Board of Education is not a vote, it's just providing feedback. So if it's a personnel committee, everybody could still provide feedback if they want to attend, but it doesn't take up time at our full board meetings.
What if somebody outside the personnel committee wants to
can
sit
come to the
on?
They
committee.
could come to the committee.
It is no difference than how all of the rest of your committees act. You gather together and then you make a recommendation to the board, and as board members, you either act one way or the other.
And not to be obtuse, but what else does the personnel committee do if they are not involved in these hiring decisions?
Well, I think it's a good idea with the personnel. I think I mentioned that a while ago, actually.
So one clarification question. When the personnel committee meets, I know this hiring sometimes has to be done at a certain schedule, sometimes fast, sometimes slow and all of that, and personnel committees meet at its own calendar. So is it possible in the personnel committee, people can meet outside of the calendar time for the meeting, and would that violate then something
So the personnel
else?
committee is the only committee that doesn't have fixed meeting dates because we meet.
Anytime when it is needed.
It's upon need.
It's upon need. Okay, that's
So
great.
it's always a last minute, Jen going, these are the 2 dates, can you guys meet?
That's good.
So I support what you said in terms of the personnel committee be involved in this process. I think it takes a little bit off the board, and then they could report back to us like all the other committees. I think that's a good.
It's literally just changing the words in that middle part, Board of Education to Personnel Committee.
Yeah.
And then everything else could stay the same, but it just streamlines it a little bit.
Yeah, because they're on the board anyway, and they can give feedback to
Because
the board.
otherwise, you're looking at 2 board meetings. I know we have them every other week, but still.
Yeah.
How is it gonna be though, so how would it feel if when we come back to the board meeting, and then it's like, well, I'm not a big fan of this candidate, and here's my concerns, is that gonna be aired at a board meeting? So the personnel, do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe you guys don't understand. So the personnel committee meets, like you're suggesting, Jen. They meet, they review whatever's going on, but then it's not like coming back and going, oh, the Board of Finance approved those transfers, or communications is gonna meet and we're gonna have this next, it's a little bit.
I think you got a good point, but I think with the board, whoever, the Board of Ed or the Personnel Committee, when they're there to be a part of the process and give feedback to the superintendent. And then I think for the board meeting, they can report on that process. I don't think it's something we say, this is this person stunk, this person was okay. I guess you'd have to go into executive session if you were going to do something talking about anybody that was personal like that. But I think even whether it's the personnel committee or those 2 people, we'd still have to refine that process, is what I'm saying.
Well,
I mean, based on this, either way, it's a finalist coming to the board for a vote. So The only difference is it would be in a committee, but anybody can attend and still give their feedback, right?
Do the finalists for this directors have, they traditionally come to the board, or is this a new thing? The directors.
So the
superintendent.
So the finalists, so what has been in the past is the superintendent presented the candidate that they chose, but what's, correct me if I'm wrong, what's being added is in a meeting before that, we're going to say, these are the two candidates that we are choosing from.
And giving feedback.
That is, yes, that is,
And then-
yeah, right.
And then the voting, did we vote previously?
Yes. Yes, there was always a vote, but it was always on the one finalist without sort of.
Any feedback?
She comes down to the finalist.
The personnel meeting, that anybody on the board can come to that meeting?
Anybody on the board can go to any committee meeting.
I mean, anybody could come to AFC every month, anybody.
I just thought that.
You really can sit there though.
I thought that the personnel was confidential.
No, the only thing, remember, personnel, we can't ever do virtually because you can't, because we do go into executive session and you would have to, like, you can't.
So if we go into executive session and other board members are there, that's fine.
Every board member can go into executive session as well, because a
Right,
standing
that's what we
committee
just said.
meeting.
Just, we don't do executive
Just
sessions
confirming.
virtually.
I'm just
They wouldn't
confirming,
vote, right?
to make sure that I understand, so I'm just repeating it back, that I understand, we all understand.
They would
what-
just have to invite them in, but just like you guys invite me into an executive session, because technically I'm not allowed, but we would just invite all board members in attendance.
Right, because that's different, that operates different than our other committee.
So on this policy, we as a board now are focusing on the two things that we as a subcommittee were really focused on. And that was two things. One, how deep does the authority of the board go to hire, right? I mean, does it just go to the superintendent or the assistant superintendent? Or how low in the totem pole, to use a probably very inept expression. And the other one would be, what role should we as the board play? Should we be involved in every step of the way? And I think what we focused on now is, well, there were three steps, there were three phases. One, superintendent would create the pool and all the rubric and criteria for hiring. And then step two would be, the superintendent would call down that pack to unilaterally with their own efforts to a smaller group, and that's the point at which the board would be allowed to be invited, could participate if it chose to. And then the third tier would be the superintendent bringing two finalists to the board saying, hey, here's my top two picks, let me tell you about them. And then finally bringing them for the finalist, who was selected by the superintendent with input from the board, would be brought before the board for a yay or nay vote as to whether or not to hire. So the two issues that seem to be unresolved now, and I'm only putting this in because it may well be coming back to the subcommittee to help us to really drill down on issues to bring something before us as a whole to get it passed, would be, one, should we only keep it to the principals and the superintendent and the assistant superintendent and not go any broader than that? With the athletic director and finance, maybe we should constrain that a little bit more. And the other would be an interesting suggestion by Donna, that we have the second to last round involve the policy committee, and only the last round be before the full board. I'm sorry, that's exactly what I meant. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting late. I think those are pretty neat suggestions, and just in the interest of time, I was trying to drill down.
Part of this too was the whole thing came out from certain members saying, hey, we had no say in this.
I agree.
And 10 years from now, hopefully that's the soonest that you guys have to replace somebody. How many of us are really gonna be sitting here? We tried to give a policy that would give some openness.
We know you'll still be
Hopefully
here.
none of us will be still here.
Because they're gonna be asking all the same questions you did, we did, and they did, and we.
We're all still gonna be here.
But realistically,
We'd
her,
still be here.
Yeah, you guys will.
but Jen, your experience and your time here is of the people, well, as described in its current position, you hired 4 people over 7 years. So we're talking, this process may happen once every other year.
So I view it the other way around. I view it not in the sense of like how much time will we have to allocate. I view it as like, up to what level, to your question, Christian, like, meaning how deep should this authority, this supervision need to go? And I completely agreed with many of the others who said we would have liked a little bit more input when the assistant superintendent was hired. So I have no objection to that. Like, I think some input would have been great, because otherwise we are just rubber stamping something that was already done. But I feel like the level of the directors seem a little too deep in my mind, and it's probably not our place. It's not a question of like, do we have enough turnover? Maybe not, but just because there is no turnover doesn't mean we need to put in our votes. So that's why I was suggesting that maybe we go up to the level of the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and principals and stop there. And then, of course, you can still ask for what's the right approach to getting our inputs in, and that's, I think, again, would be worthy of discussion. So my suggestion is to stop at the level of the assistant superintendent.
Okay, so, Sudhir, I totally hear you, and we can come back and we can talk about it in policy, and as long as this is the consensus of the board. Just for a little background, there are boards who are actually involved in the screening process, who are very intricately involved, and they are, so this is just somehow kind of, how much hiring do we want to do and how much input? I think it's just not being surprised. And all of these, down to the director level, are critical positions. I think Jen can attest to that as well. They do hold quite a bit of authority, and in no way is anyone suggesting that any board member is going to tell the superintendent who she should be working with. It's just more of bringing everybody along. So the intention wasn't to have a micro oversight into this. It was just being involved because, just to remind everyone, we knew Shannon. Because Shannon was previously.
I didn't know Shannon.
I didn't know Shannon.
I've never seen her before.
Many of us have knew Shannon. What I was going to say, except for the new board members who had no idea. So we may have had a different comfort level, you, me, Carol, Patrick, and some other board members, because we knew Shannon.
So that's where I draw the difference, right? So it is not whether I'm comfortable.
So should we constrain it down to superintendent, assistant superintendent, principals? Is there anybody else? I realize there's some people here that think we shouldn't go that low at all, but is there anybody who thinks that when we revisit the policy in the next subcommittee meeting, we should address any other roles in that, or is that enough?
Are we okay with the assistant?
There's some that say we shouldn't do it at all, just defer, I understand.
Donna, so you've been waiting patiently on.
Yeah, I think we've heard all different opinions on it. I think that the policy should go back, look at that list. And I also think we should look at whether we're doing the personnel committee or we're doing the board members, and then just table that for now. We'll go back.
Hold on, question me not, for when you do these interviews, aren't they mostly during the business day? And are we going to get the entire personnel committee to show up on a business day?
No,
Is everybody?
I think the recommendation
It's
is
invited.
to invite the
Yeah.
two candidates.
Yes.
That's with the personnel committee.
Right.
Yes.
It's when it gets down to those two candidates. It's not necessarily, so it's inviting two board members, my understanding, inviting two board members to join in the interviews. Then when Jen comes down to two candidates, it's the personnel committee.
So we can make it inviting two from the personnel committee as opposed to inviting two from the board. Could really.
Well, I think, it's up to them. You can focus on anyone,
have to,
because
like, kind of
to Mike's
vote, right?
point, it has to be when people are available. So if you have board members who are available during the day,
Vote on whether we're sending it back, or?
I think the discussion is that we're gonna send it back.
Policy.
Some people are just questioning who we should, to answer your question, I think, like Terry is someone who, at her level, I think she has such an unbelievable amount of influence on the day-to-day functioning of this board and this district. And I think that hopefully she doesn't leave ever, and certainly not while I'm here. But when she does leave, I think we're gonna I think as a board, we're gonna wanna show that next person has our support. And so I would say, we at least include the director of finance in that.
okay, what about director of, I don't know, give director of pupil services, I think.
Listen, I'm okay with keeping it the way it was, but I feel like that's one of those positions. I think the Amity School District.
That's sort of like the CFO.
Historically.
And if you were on a corporate board, the board would be involved in the hiring of the CFO, like that.
The history of the Amity School District is that we are very concerned about finances. And so I think that person is just, even if we didn't look at some of the other ones, I think that's one that we should definitely look at.
I can see an argument for finance director, but, technology, it just seems like, it doesn't seem right to me, right? I can understand CFO, okay, fine, we give her a new title, and and.
I would caricature policy CFO if that's not your title.
And that may be fine, but
Then why don't we just
there comes a
include
point
Terry's
when,
Just include Terry's position.
Or you can separate it into two different policies that are very similar.
Oh, no, we don't need more
How about-
policy.
how about-
No, for the different directors versus
Well,
what you're
I
saying.
think, okay, so we did director for that reason, so it's just a blanket director. But if we want to get down to which directors, we can be open to that. We just need to know which directors people want a say in.
Okay, so can we move this back to because we're
Yeah,
having our
we've
sidebar
got-
where we
Motion
understand
to-
how this works.
Sorry.
But it may be possible to just identify it as certified senior level administrators, because Terry has to have a certification from the state of Connecticut. Shannon does, Tom Brandt does, but Mr. Martoni doesn't. So we may be able to sort of parse it down and connect it to certified people, but it's just, we have to have a little time to think about that a little
Okay,
bit.
I love
Why we
that
have the brain
idea.
trust here.
Let's do that.
So,
Move along and do
just-
that.
So close.
Mike has made a motion to move it back to
Second.
committee. Seconded. Do we need any discussion on that? I don't.
So we had a motion by McDonough and Young.
to
To
approve,
approve
but
it.
can't we, I believe we can just,
Can we just pretend that didn't happen?
Can they rescind the motion?
this is where I don't know how this
I'll
works.
withdraw.
He's withdrawing his
I'll withdraw and
motion.
I'll re-motion to send it back.
I don't even know that well, I guess we can put that in officially, yeah. Withdraw the motion to,
I just want to clarify, are we leaning toward the personnel committee?
Sure.
Okay.
We can talk about it in policy.
I mean, if anybody
know what
has
Mike
very
would say.
strong opinions, please email your policy chair, and then he has information. Or else the policy will just make a recommendation based off of their opinions.
I want to be a chairman. I want my.
I've shared my strong opinion.
I'll be a chairman, but I'm a chairperson.
Can we call the roll for that?
A motion?
Mike and Christian just made a motion. I guess the assumption was to approve it, but it doesn't say that, it just says policy, recruitment and selection, like, to discuss it.
It's a second,
we had to move-
typically.
Okay, so
second
it's a second
reading,
reading,
yes,
okay,
so
okay.
yeah, so that would
So Mike,
be
you're
for
withdrawing your
He's
motion.
withdrawing that, and he's making a motion to send it back to committee.
And,
Carol second.
Carol seconded that.
Okay.
okay, Ms. Cloudingham.
Yes.
Ms. Jacquet.
Yes.
Dr. Kurtikron.
Yes.
Ms. Lombardi.
Yes.
Ms. Rabus.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Mr. McDonough.
Yes.
Dr. Oladile.
Yes.
Ms. Schleich.
Yes.
Ms. Schuster.
Yes.
Mr. Young.
Yes.
Okay, personal report on page 62.
We've just nothing much other than we've hired 2 teachers, a special ed teacher finally to fill the empty position, a social studies teacher to replace Mr. Cumstone who went to work for CEA, and Mr. Ward accepted a transfer from Amity Middle School Bethany to become the department chair of English at the high school.
One quick question, I know it's late. There was a middle school softball coach hired in the last personnel report who is not the middle school softball coach who's actually now coaching.
Yes, they resigned and then we had to get a new softball coach, and I don't think they made the personnel report.
Got
per
it.
se.
I was just curious as to
So Jen, here's just a question. When we get resignations, like Mr. Comstone, does the board typically get resignation letters? How does that work?
No, they just come to me.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't even come to me. They go to the principal and then we get them.
New business and announcements. Items for next week. Next regular meeting, God bless you. Do the chairperson by April 30th. And then, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Without objection.
First or second?
Yeah.